I think we are on slide. If you can just go to slide number 2. I just want to give you guys the previous slide. Just a realistic breakdown of what's happening. So today what we do is we're going to take the biggest part of today and we're going to focus on how do I create a business strategy. And it's incredible when I speak to existing business owners, when I speak to aspiring entrepreneurs, I always ask them, what's the strategy? And they can't really answer me. So somewhere in translation, the concept of a business strategy gets lost. Then what follows on that is a business vision. What's a business vision? It's this cliche word that nobody really understands, but they feel condemned because they don't have a business vision, and everybody says they must have a vision, and that speaker said this, and this speaker said that, and etc. So I want to break that down, because ultimately you can't build anything in life if you don't have a vision. It's impossible to build. You can go up to a point, but then you're going to be frustrated, and there's going to be a lack of growth because there's no vision going past that barrier. Right, so that's going to be the main focus for today. Tomorrow we're going to dig into some real practical aspects of business. And that's what I'm very excited about. So we're going to take a look at branding. How do I create a proper brand for my business? We're going to take a look at marketing versus advertising versus networking. Then we're also going to take a look at how do I set up sales processes. How many of you guys like to do the sale call? How many like the sales? There's a couple of people. The majority of small business owners comes into my office, then they say, I generated the lead, I sent him the quote and the details, and that was it. He never came back. So I'm going to just not call him ever again. And that's the fear of rejection speaking. But there's actually a system you need to set up to get that client through. All right, so it's not that intimidating to do sales. It's just about thinking rightly about the sales. And then we're going to finish off with how do I create a patternized process to deliver the same service or product over and over and over at the exact same quality. And the last session tomorrow is going to finish off with systemized management. How do I manage my business with order and control? And then how do I leverage and get people in to run the business on my behalf? And we're going to open up for questions and answers. So there's going to be a good amount of about an hour and a half where you guys can prepare your questions. Me and Liam will sit on the panel and you guys can ask. And we'll answer them honestly based on our experience as entrepreneurs and where technology and business and the markets are going in South Africa and all over the world. Right, so that's in reality what you guys can expect. I'm going to give you some homework, and I want to warn you that it is intense homework, and nobody's going to do it for you. And if you don't do it for yourself, you're never going to understand your own business. If you don't understand your own business, it's impossible. It's an irrational thought to think you will ever be successful if you don't understand what you are busy with. All right, the only way to gain that understanding is to do the homework yourself and to find out what is happening. You need understanding. So a lot of the clients that comes to us for business plans and business coaching, they expect me to do the work for them. But it's your business. Surely if it's your business, it's your responsibility. I'll show you the tools, but I'm not going to do the research on your behalf. Then you're going to pay me 50,000 Rand, right? Because it's my time. Okay. So I'm very, very excited. Rachel, you can go to slide number 4. I want to show you guys the team and the structure. So the holdings company that I have is My SME. We've got a couple of divisions. The first division is Business Plan Pro, where we write funding ready documents, business plans for people who wants to apply for funding at various government organizations, private funding, banks, etc. The second division is small business coach. That's the area where I take aspiring entrepreneurs or people with a small business, and I take them through a 12-week business coaching process. And what I'm basically going to do for you today and tomorrow is I'm going to compartmentalize this business program that I do over 12 weeks into 2 days. Okay, it's going to be a lot of info coming your way. So if you can get your hands on the recording, I would suggest you go over and just make sure that you understand all the concepts, that it's not just a bunch of noise, you step out and there's no change at all. Right, and then I've got a third division, which is Entrepreneurship School. That organization is CETA accredited, and we've got entrepreneurship certificates that we run and so forth. I've also got an online business course that I basically also cover everything that I do in about 6.5 hours. So that is what we're busy with at my SME. Just a quick story on how I got there. It's a fairly interesting story. So I grew up in Johannesburg, and after school I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, because I feel personally that the school system is not really inspiring hope and dreams in you. So normally the school system tells you got to study hard, right, that you can get into university, that you can get a safe job, that when you get the job, the financial advisor calls you to save up pension to be safe, and then at 65, you now live your safe life, and you can take your money and have a good time, right? This is more or less how it goes. But just from my perspective, out of a biblical point of view, I don't see the word safe in the Bible at all. So it's not really speaking to my level of faith that I want to pursue as a kingdom citizen in the kingdom of God. So I was, I think, a bit frustrated there. But anyways, I went to go study at Potch. I studied sports science, studied a couple of months, and I realized I'm frustrated. This is not fulfilling me. And then I realized they said that every 3 to 6 years, they change the content of what we are studying. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm paying 250,000 Rand to study the content, and you tell me you're going to change it in 3 to 6 years again, and what I know now is going to be nullified. What's the point? And to the contrary to that, I came to salvation that year in Potchefstroom, and I had this dream to play professional cricket. So eventually, I started playing cricket in my second year, and I'm playing too much cricket, and I'm too little in the classes, and it becomes this problem. So eventually, I took the leap, and I said, I'm going to go for my dream full time. So I stopped studying. I took a leap of faith. That was my decision, and that was my dream. I wanted that, so I took this leap of faith, and it led me all the way to Cape Town. So incredible. God said, move to Cape Town. So I packed my stuff, I put it in my bakkie, and there I went, 21 years old. I knew 6 people in Cape Town, and I just had to make it. And after I gave myself 5 years to basically pursue this cricket dream. And after the 5 years, I had absolutely nothing to show for it. I was 23 years old, going 24. I had nothing to show for the cricket dream. It didn't work out. And I was, for the first time in my life, in a place where I was frustrated again. Not the first time that I was frustrated, but the first time I was in a place where I said, God, what do you want with my life? Like, I don't know what to do now. I don't have a degree. I didn't study anything. I didn't make it in my cricket dream. Now I'm 24 years old. Now what now? And then I was pressing into God's presence for a couple of months. And then He simply told me, go into business. And you guys want to know what I knew about business? Absolutely nothing. I knew how to play cricket. But it was like zero business knowledge. I'll never forget it. So I got home. I got my instruction, go into business. Normally that's how it works with God. He gives you a seed. And then He says, that's a thought. You figure it out now. I gave you a brain. Right? So God gives us a brain, and He gives us opportunity And He created us in His image, so we are creative. And then He says, figure it out. He's not going to do everything for you. God never made a chair for Adam, ever. Adam's legs got tired. And he said, God, what now? And God said, there's trees. That's the opportunity. I gave you a brain. That's the solution. Get to work. Anyways, that's besides the point. Where was I? Ray, where was I? Oh, start a business. That's right. So I got home and I sat in the chair. And I was living in one of the poorest areas of Bellville in that stage. So the place where I was living in, I didn't even have furniture, but like the curtains had little holes in, so the neighbors can see you at night. Whatever happens, you can't hide it. I mean, there's holes in the curtains. You can pull the curtains close, but they're still going to see. So I was staying in this poor community, and I sat in the chair, and I took my notebook, and I wrote down, instruction, go into business. Sounds wonderful. And then I said number 2, and I wrote there, I know nothing about business. That was legit. I sat there in the chair and I wrote it just like that. And then number 3, I said, go have a coffee with somebody that knows something about business. That was it. That was my solution. That's what I had in my hand. And I invited this one guy for coffee. His name is Eddie. And we sat at the restaurant. He was obviously paying because I was cold, stone broke. I barely could afford the petrol in the bakkie. Anyway, so I was sitting there in front of Eddie and I said, Eddie, I need to go into business. Now, Eddie was a fairly successful entrepreneur. So I said, Eddie, I need to go into business. And Eddie was sitting there like, that's fantastic. Congratulations. And I said, what is business? And then Eddie, I'll never forget it, he was like having his hand over his mouth like this, and he goes like, poof, I don't know. He said, what can you do? And I said, I don't know, I can play cricket. Obviously that's not going to help me now. I said, wait, I got it. I can coach cricket. Because that's what I have in my hand. And he said, okay, let's go for it. Let's do it. I said, okay, I'm going to coach cricket. And that's how it started for me. That one thought of, what do I have? What can I do that's going to bring value to somebody else's life? I need to start. So then I bought a couple of books, and that's literally where I started my business journey. That ended me in Liam's company partners. I was the 3rd employee there, and it was an incredible opportunity for me because now I could take all the book knowledge that I learned in my 24th year. That was 2013. I could take all that knowledge and apply it in a business environment, which was fantastic. Liam's also a brilliant entrepreneur, so it was a great opportunity for me to just sit and learn. And I sat there for 3.5 years, just learning as much as I can about entrepreneurship. And then God called me again after he saw that I was faithful with what He originally gave me. So He said, go into business. So I went into business in faith. I don't know what was going to happen. I wasn't capable at all. I mean, if you want to talk about capability, I had zero capability of business at all. But I was just faithful, just following the instruction. And then He came, and in 2015, God said, do your part, and this is my instruction to you. So then I had to take that instruction, I had to figure it out. And that's got to do with economic transformation, education, and how do we build the economy in South Africa? How do we make it inclusive? How do we bring in more to really grow the economy? And that was a really rough thought. I mean, I didn't even study economics. I didn't even know what the economy was. At that stage, I just knew how to do a bit of business. And then I started to think, for us to really increase the economy, we need to enhance entrepreneurship, which is a fairly simple thought. And it's a very noisy space. So I started to ask a couple of questions, and the one question was, if somebody goes to university, he studies for entrepreneurship, he walks out with a degree, why can't most of them start a business? They don't really know what to do. It's like, okay, I've got the degree, but I'm a bit stuck. How do I start? So that for me didn't make sense at all. Then the other thing that I thought is, I was speaking to somebody that was in business coaching at that stage, and he said what he basically does is he sits an hour with a person, shares a couple of ideas, and Bob's your uncle. $1,000 for the session. There you go. It's a lot of money. The problem with people not starting a business is not a lack of knowledge necessary. It's not incapability. It's not that the opportunity isn't right. It's not that it's not a good idea. The problem with people not starting a business is fear. That's what's keeping you to start a business. And I got this the one day when I had one of my first clients in 2018, and he basically came to me, and his name was Malloy. And Malloy said, he comes from this township in Free State, and the people want hardware to work on the homes and the houses, and there's no hardware shop. There's not a Mica or a Builder's Warehouse or whatever in the township. I said, it's a fantastic idea. It's a good idea. People need the hardware, so they're going to pay for it because they want to improve their homes. It's a good idea. And we were like making a plan, and I told him, you simply start like this. This is what you do. His brother lives in the township, so get your brother to run the operations for you. Get the marketing out. Once you get an order, it's not costing you anything up to that stage. Once you get the order, the money's in the bank. Now you take that money and you place the order at, let's say, Builder's Warehouse, and you move the equipment in. So it's basically a fail-proof way to start a business. Am I right? Who's agreeing with me? Okay, now, it's a very simple thought. Is it difficult? It's not difficult. You're just testing the market out. And Malloy came back a month later. He came back to me, and I said, I'm excited. I'm like, did you start this thing? What happened? Did somebody place an order? Was there a payment that came in? And he said, no, he didn't do anything. In fact, he was working on the business plan because the finances didn't make sense. And I was flabbergasted. I was totally knocked to the ground. I couldn't believe it. Because it's such a simple idea. What's there to figure out? And then the penny dropped, and I realized the reason he didn't start is because of fear. And it could be a couple of things. It's not just, everybody knows fear of failure, right? That's like the most common fear that you know. I'm afraid I'm going to fail. People's going to laugh, big humiliation for me, blah, blah, blah. But there's others as well. So there's a fear of the unknown. What's lying behind the launch? What's going to happen? Can I deliver this service? Yes or no? Will the competitors laugh at me? Yes or no? Am I able? Yes or no? Can I do this? All these doubts. The fear of the unknown, that's a big one. The fear of failure, yes, that's another big one. So that's the main reason why somebody doesn't start a business. That's the main reason. And I've done this for a very long time now. I promise you guys, every time I've got an aspiring entrepreneur with me that hasn't started yet, it's all fun and games while we're planning and we do the vision and we do the first couple of sessions. They love it. They can't wait for the next session. Until it gets time to launch the ad. Then they're like, whoa. Are you sure? And I've come to a point where, I'm a doer. So eventually I'm like, listen, give me your credit card. So they give me the card, then I go on their laptop, I put on the ad, I put in their details, I'm like, there you go, now you can't change it. So I force them because I realized sometimes if you don't force somebody over the line, they're going to get to the line, they know it's a good idea, they know it's going to work. Like, you don't need more evidence. It's going to work. But then you're just like, it's not, I'm not ready, or the finances doesn't make sense. And then you stop. And then you've built up all that momentum. And you get to that point and you break it. And that means when momentum is lost, when rhythm is lost, you need to get the rhythm up again. And that takes quite a long time. So in a nutshell, I created a 12-week business coaching program that takes people from A to Z. So my thoughts were, I'm not really going to go it's education, but it's also coaching. But it's not either one full on. So it's like an educational coaching process where you give people the right knowledge, you tell them what skills they need to possess, and then you like incubate them to get over the line. So you take them from A to Z. Instead of, I'm making you dependent on me, which means I don't lose my client, and you come back and I'm always happy, I get my $1,000 from you per week. So that's the idea that I'm after, and that's about leaving a seed in your mind that can grow afterwards. Right. And just case in point, quick testimonial, the next slide, number 5, is my first successful one-to-one business coaching client in 2019. So 2018, I started this 12-week program, and I was going to do this thing called entrepreneurship. I had many doubts, I promise you, because the first thing that came to mind is, I'm going to now teach people to be entrepreneurs, but I don't really have a business yet. I launched out in 2017. To my big surprise, it was way more difficult than I thought. And now I'm going to start teaching entrepreneurs, but I don't really feel like a successful one yet. And the more I try to push it off and try to do other stuff, the more the Holy Spirit convicts me and says, do this now. And I'm like, I'm not ready. And He says, I don't care. And I'm like, I'll do it, right? So then I do it. I basically make plans for 2 weeks. There I go again. I'm not ready. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go into clothing. I'm going to go into this. And the Holy Spirit said, what did I tell you? Do this now. And I'm like, okay. I was just checking that I didn't hear wrongly. Anyways, so then I started this thing, and I had to launch my first 12-week program. And I got the big go-ahead from my mentor, which for me was a big deal. So in 2017, June, I was telling him about this instruction that God has given me and what I want to do, the 12-week program, taking people from A to Z. I think I was speaking for 2 minutes, and he was going like this. He's a very direct person. Doesn't waste any time. He was going like this, and he said, I think it's a great idea, start it now. And I was like, what? Is this guy crazy? Anyway, so I started 2018, and guess how many people showed up to my course? 0. I did the marketing, I put the marketing out there. I'm very excited. I'm going to teach you entrepreneurship skills. Who wants entrepreneurship skills? Can I just see an indication? Who wants entrepreneurship skills? Everybody wants it. I put it out there, and then nobody replies. It's just like, crick, 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 crick. And then I came to okay, I got to launch this thing. So that's not even telling you about the doubts that I have before I pressed the publish button for the ad. It was like I expanded that for a week. So when it gets to the marketing, launching the ad, I'd say from experience, I myself procrastinated a week long. Then I realized, just do it. If I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail quickly. And I did. And then I quickly found a couple of people, and I had to get 6 people. I had to ask 6 people if they want to come on the course. And they said yes. And 4 finished it in 12 weeks. But that was where I started, literally. And then I had this person coming in, Neil Smuts from Spark Dust. That is the previous slide. The previous slide. I just want to show you guys. Yes, there he is. So Neil came to me, played cricket with me, and he said he's got this side hustle. And guess how much his side hustle made per year? It was like 350,000 rand. That's a lot of money for a side hustle. That's not bad. And he said, but he's struggling. He doesn't know what he's doing. This thing's making a bit of money, but he's not sure how to continue with it. So I said, listen, I've got this 12-week program for groups. I can do it for you personally. Let's see what happens. He's like, sure, let's do it. So I helped Neil. I get him off and running. And I think by the week number 10, I launch ads for him. So again, I take his credit card, and then I put in the stuff, because otherwise they will never do it. The clients will never do it because they're afraid. There's fear, there's doubt that sets in. So I put in the details, and within 2 weeks, He made 3 sales worth 80,000 rand. Then I was like, whoa, this 12-week program is a piece of gold. I needed to get it to the people, but that was my breakthrough moment when I realized this thing is working. It's getting results. And then from that, basically, I started the small business coach. All right, so that's, in a nutshell, just where I'm from and where I started. So I'm probably the most incompetent person ever to do what I'm doing now. But I'm doing it. And I'm very passionate about it, and I will never regret it. And it has not been easy, I promise you that. There's been many sacrifices involved. There's been many fearful moments. One of my most troublesome moments was in 2018 when I appointed somebody to write. So to keep the pot boiling in 2017, 2018, I had to do business plans. I'm still doing it today, just to keep the pot on the stove, to keep the lights on. And I had this person that I appointed to write the plans, and we basically wrote plans for the company partners, business plan department. And it's going really well. It's covering my salary. I'm covering the person that works for me. I'm covering his salary. And I'm working on this 12-week program because this really is the passion of what I'm doing. This is going to empower people. But the problem is I'm so in a comfort zone because my salary is covered every month. Nothing's happening because I'm just chilling it out, The salary is covered, so what's the problem? And then early 2019, this person quits and I appoint somebody from the Eastern Cape. She quits her job. She's on her way. She's starting in March. Middle February, that department goes bankrupt. And that was the money I would have used to pay her a salary. Okay, now this is a real story. So suddenly the department's bankrupt. Forget about my salary. There's somebody coming from the Eastern Cape that quit their job based on what I told them. And they're coming. They're going to come work for me. And it was like, this is a big problem. So I was sitting there and I was really thinking, all hope is lost. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. This 12-week program is not nearly close to being profitable at all. But then that was my big moment where I needed to really step out as an entrepreneur and start a business that is working based on everything that I've been teaching the people up to that point. And that's when I looked at what can I do and what does the market need. And I could write business plans, and I saw on the market that there's about 30,000 plus people looking for a business plan every month. Did I like the business plans? Not at all. It's like Liam says, it's an admin process. It's a document people apply for funding with. They don't even read it. It's not something that's going to grow your business. So it's not something that I'm passionate about. It's basically an admin document. I wasn't passionate at all about it, but that was what I had in mind. That was what I could do, and that was where I started. And that, which Ray spoke about earlier, that's something that really started there. It's grown to a team of 5 people. We've literally tripled in turnover. We've taken the online market for business plans, and I learned so much through that, and it's still active. So that's just a moment in my life where it really looked like all hope was lost. But again, I want to add to what Liam was saying, and that is, look at what's in your hand. What can you do? What value can you offer to the market, the people? And what is the people asking for? 2 very important questions. All right, so we're going to get into the presentation now. Slide number 8. The previous one. Right, so before I get into creating a business strategy, I just want to share a couple of things about how we were created. And I'm a firm believer that if you have a normal functioning brain and a normal IQ, you have the ability to be an entrepreneur. Now, I'm not saying everybody should be an entrepreneur. I'm not saying everybody's going to be a Steve Jobs that builds 2 massive companies that's trading on the stock exchange that goes over 2 billion or 2 trillion. I'm not saying that. I'm saying everybody with a normal functioning brain and a normal level of IQ has the ability to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to base my facts on science and how God created us. So it's going to be a creation principle and it's going to be science. Okay, so we were created, if you read Genesis 1:26, this is Entrepreneurship 101. Genesis 1:26, we were created in the image of God. What is the first attribute we learn from God in Genesis 1 verse 1? Anybody? He is what? He's a creator. Yes, Ray. So God is the ultimate creator. The first thing we learn is Genesis 1:1, and God created. And then he says, let us make man in our image, and in other words, let them be creators. Let them have dominion. So I'm going to make the earth, and I'm going to put them in charge of the earth, and I'm going to give them a tool to create, which is our brains. Incredible. And I'm going to give them a personality, a character type, a soul that can do what I can do in terms of creation on earth. Now, I'm not saying we're going to create magic. I'm just saying that creating this building, that's creation, that you're creating something. Right, so God creates us spirit, soul, body. The spirit has both feet in the spirit realm. The body, the flesh, has both feet in the natural realm. And then you get the soul. The soul is the thing that has 1 foot in the spirit and 1 foot in the natural. And while you're alive in your physical body here on earth, you operate in the natural realm. But there's a big difference between the brain and the soul. So if you read Proverbs 23 verse 7, it says, as a man thinks, so easy. That word thinks, as a man thinks in his heart. The scripture says, as a man thinks in his heart, so easy. That word heart, translated in the Hebrew, means mind, which is your soul. Now there's a difference between the soul and the brain. The brain is just an organ. If you take a brain out of a body, it's dead. It's not going to do anything. It's just an organ. But if you take a soul out of a body, it's going into the spirit realm. So it's still alive. It's still active. Are you guys with me? I'm not getting too technical, right? Okay, so the incredible thing and the potential that we have is the soul. The soul is what makes you you. It's your character. It's your personality. It's your talents. It's your ability. It comes from the soul, and then the brain is the thing that naturally executes what the soul instructs it to do. And that's the incredible thing. It's the soul. So the next slide number 9, I've got a question. Let's see who did well in biology as a child in school. What is the physical difference between identical twins? There's 2 physical differences between identical twins, which the scientists can't explain why. You think Mission Impossible. Fingerprints is one, and there's another one. If you think Mission Impossible, they always scan your eye, because the eye is also unique. And it's incredible if you read Proverbs, then Solomon says, the eyes are the windows to the soul. So if the windows is unique, the soul is unique. Is that correct? And then fingerprints represents the works of your hand. Everybody has a unique set of fingerprints, which means everybody's going to build something unique. Because nobody can do what somebody else does, because they don't have the same mind. They don't think the same. So your biggest competitive advantage is the way that you think in your soul, and then it gets manifested in the brain and you build it with your hands. That's your competitive advantage. There's one reason, I'm not sure how many of you are Samsung fans and how many are Apple fans, but there's one reason why Samsung will never catch up with Apple if you look at the software, the operational system. They can't. They've got all the technology. They've got all the skills. They have dissected that iPhone inside out, up, down, but they will never get the same operational feeling as an iPhone. Because they can't think like Steve Jobs thought. The iPhone is literally Steve Jobs' brain in a phone. That's the way that he thought about life. The moment he took what makes him unique into his product, nobody can copycat him. It's impossible because they are not you. So that's your biggest competitive advantage. So that's why I'm saying if you have a normal functioning brain and a normal IQ, you have the ability to be an entrepreneur. Now, successful entrepreneurship doesn't mean you have this massive company with 1,000 people working for you. It means you can have 5 people working for you, but the business is successful, which we'll touch on shortly, what makes a business successful. The next slide is some creativity principles that I want to share with you. And the idea is to get your brain in a space of creativity. So creativity doesn't just happen. We live in an era where the media wants to portray that you either born this incredible individual and voila, you are a successful entrepreneur. And it's just fate, right? Who's ever heard that or felt like people were pushing you in that direction? It's not the truth. It's like that Steve Jobs popped out of his mom's womb and he's this entrepreneur. No, not at all. You guys need to talk to me. You're very quiet. I'm asking very rhetorical questions for a reason. So Steve Jobs went to varsity, he learned a couple of things, suddenly he realized a couple of things, suddenly he saw an opportunity, he took a chance, and he was a terrible leader in his 20s. Terrible. By the time he gets to his 50s, he looks at one of his previous employees and he says, wow, I've learned a lot. And she said, you were a very difficult person. So you obviously grow in leadership and you grow in entrepreneurship and you become a better entrepreneur over time. But you need to get your mind in a space of creativity. You won't just be creative out of nothing. And I like this new term that we see, the creatives, right? Who's heard of that one? People call themselves creatives. Matt, have you heard about that? So this is the arty people, and so nothing against it. I'm just saying, if I read the Bible correctly, we're all creatives. So it's not just a certain level of people that's creative. We all are. It's just you got to find your area of creativity. For some, it's technology. For some, it's transport. For some, it's restaurants. For some, it's coffee. It's like you got to find what you are good at. So we're going to look at that. I'm very excited. If we look at the creativity principles, the first one is for you to be really creative and accomplish your maximum potential as an entrepreneur. You need a vision and you need a purpose. That's the first thing. We're going to touch on that. I'm just giving you the principles now. The second principle is you need to build on your talent and your passion. I can't start an auto mechanic shop now. There's a massive market. People always will need transport, so cars will always break. It's a good market to operate in. Would you guys agree? You're always going to have business, right? But don't have a cooking clue how to fix a car. I can just change the tire. And I know where to put the water in the water tank. That's about it. I know where the oil is. Okay, so that's not my talent. You got to find your talent and your passion and you build on that. Okay, that's obviously going to make you more competitive than the other person if you're better than him. And the third one is your level of focus, thinking, and meditation. It's got to be on one thing. One thing. And there's this term, serial entrepreneurship, which I'm not a big fan of. So I understand you get entrepreneurs that's successful. They got 3 or 4 or 5 different businesses, but I promise you they didn't start with 5 different businesses at one time and made them all successful. They normally start with one thing. They make it very successful in 5 years plus, and then they start the second thing, then it's quicker because they already know the drills. Then they start the third thing, then it's even quicker and they have more money so they can invest more. So I'm not a big fan of serial entrepreneurship, and I would highly suggest that you first make one thing successful and then you carry on. But that comes down to focus on one thing. Now, the result of these 3 principles, what's the 3 principles? The first one, creativity, talent and passion, and the third one is focus. Now, your mind is in a space where it's thinking just in this line. You don't have your fingers in 5 different pies. What happens now scientifically, if you go to the next slide, scientifically, I'm not going to go into the brain too much, just one thing. You see there, top left, the word dendrite. Now the dendrite is the name of that tree-like figure you see on a brain cell. Now this is the science part of entrepreneurship. It's that tree-like figure. And that tree-like figure, that dendrite, grows out of the brain cell every time you get a new thought, or if your brain is stimulated, or if somebody teaches you something new, or if you think about something. That dendrite grows out of the brain cell. It's incredible. And the purpose of the dendrite is it physically stores the thought that you just had. So every single thought that you have in your brain becomes real estate. It sits there forever. It's incredible. Okay, now my point is, if you think and focus and meditate on one thing, what's the majority of the dendrites going to look like? That one thing, right? So if I've got a coffee shop, and I'm really passionate about this, I'm really good at making coffee, I'm focused on this one coffee shop, I've got a vision to take this one coffee shop, make it 5 in the region, and all day I'm just thinking coffee, 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 coffee. Obviously you got to be a bit flexible as well with a couple of other things, but I'm just making a point now. So let's say my main focus is this coffee shop. All the dendrites is going to be coffee thoughts, right? To make it practical. Now, here's science coming in. In between the dendrites, there's molecules, there's energy that's flowing in the form of molecules in between the dendrites. They're shooting to and fro in your brain right now. They move at the speed of light. So just quickly, your brain is made up of the stuff of the universe. It's incredible. God knew what He was doing when He created our brains. It's a supercomputer. And the energy is flowing between the one dendrite to the other dendrite. And it's flowing, and the energy is so intense, but out of that energy, the molecules communicate with each other between the dendrites, and out of that energy between the dendrites, new ideas form from nothing. That's how you create. That's how the mind creates. That's the science of entrepreneurship. So nobody can tell me that you can't be an entrepreneur. You maybe don't want to be an entrepreneur, but then it depends on what your concept of entrepreneurship is. Entrepreneurship is simply a person with a dream to move humanity forward and make a difference in somebody's life. He then has the ability to create a practical vision that will bring the dream to life, and then he builds. He's a leader. That's an entrepreneur. Whether you build a business, whether you build a church, whether you build a non-profit, you're an entrepreneur. It's about the dream, creating a practical vision, building. And to make that very practical, it's as simple as, if I've got an open piece of ground, right? I want to build my dream house. Now imagine I go to the builder and I say, build me a house. What's his first question going to be? Where's the plan? He's going to say, where's the plan? I'm going to say, no, you're the expert. Just build my dream house. He's like, no, what's the plan? So there's a middle distinct part that people miss about entrepreneurship, and that's writing the plan. So you as an entrepreneur are a dreamer, an idealist, you're an architect, you write up the plans, and you're a builder. You build the business. All right, is somebody learning something? Nice. Cool. Okay, then we get to the sequence of a successful business. So that was the one part now. What gives you the ability to be an entrepreneur? That's what I covered now. I've just proven to you from the Bible and from science that you have the ability to be an entrepreneur. Who feels like an entrepreneur? Yes, okay. Now we've got to take a look at what is the sequence of building a business, which is something a bit different. And we read in Genesis 1:28, we read, after God made humanity, he then says, and God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful, multiply, subdue, and replenish the earth. Who knows that verse? It's an incredible verse. Incredible. And then the Amplified Version says, using the vast resources of the earth in the service of God and man. Whoa, that's deep. That's business 101. God's original plan for humanity was business 101. And it was as simple as be fruitful, multiply, subdue, replenish, using the resources of the earth. In other words, God's already put everything in the earth that we need to build a successful business. Who's with me? He's already put everything in the earth. Then it says the following, in the service of God, do all things as if you do it unto the Lord, and man. Customer service. It's like God says, look at the people around you. What do they need? They need food. They need clothing. They need a roof over their heads. They need transport. They need water. Those industries will never run out of business. Ever. Do you need to eat every day? Yes, so you got to buy food. Brilliant business model, right there. Okay. Using the vast resources in the service of God and man. Look at the people around you. What do they need? Versus, okay, so that's a necessity. Am I selling a necessity or am I selling a luxury? When the economy gets tight, what's the first thing that gets cut? Luxuries. I don't need that, so I'm cutting it. But I need food, so I can't cut my food budget. So the food sector will never run out of business. That's just a thought. It's a good business model, ne Ben? Yes, all right. So, but if you look at the words, be fruitful, multiply, subdue, and replenish. The word fruitful in the Hebrew means produce. It's incredible. Produce. So let's look at the whole sequence. God says, produce a product or a service using the resources of the earth in the service of man. Produce one product. One product. Then it says multiply. Multiplication in the Hebrew means reproduce. So in other words, God's saying, produce one product or service using the resources of the earth in the service of people, customer service, then create a system to reproduce that same product or service more than once. Once you have the system, find a way to distribute this product or the service throughout the world. And then the word replenish means basically bring under control. Subdue, sorry, there's another word, subdue. And then it says, and subdue. Subdue means bring under control. In other words, if I produce a product or a service using the resources of the earth in the service of other people, I find a way to reproduce it more than once. I distribute it successfully throughout the market. I bring the market under control. Market domination. And then God says, after those words, He says, and have dominion. He just gave you the recipe to have dominion. Pretty cool. Okay. Right. Slide number 13. What is a successful business? So I've got 3 versions of a successful business. I'm going to keep it very simple, But this is the age-old question. People want to be successful, right? Who wants to be successful? Who can judge you if you're successful or not? Nobody. Because nobody knows how far you are along with your assignment. Okay. So, firstly, in theory, let's look at a successful business. So personally, I like John Maxwell's definition the best, where he says, success is knowing your purpose in life, growing to reach your maximum potential, and sowing positive seed to empower other people. Okay, now that's a personal definition of success, and I think it's very practical, and I think it's very good. So if I take that and I infiltrate the concept of a business into that, it will basically mean, for me to have a successful business in theory, I need to know my purpose. What is the purpose of the business? Now, purpose of a business is the idea worth working for. What's the idea worth working for in the business? What's the passion behind what I'm doing? Because if I'm not passionate about it, if there's not an idea that improves humanity's lives, and the bank hits zero, which is almost guaranteed to happen somewhere in your entrepreneurship life, what's going to get you out of the bed the next morning if your motivation was money? Because the money just failed. So you're going to be like, my main purpose is now dead, so I'm not going to continue. But if I really believe in what I'm doing, because there's an idea worth working for, personally for me, my idea worth working for is helping people put food on the table by teaching them how to do business. Do you think that's a worthy idea? Yes, it's definitely. And it gets me so passionate that even though the bank is on zero, I still get up in the morning because I know somebody else's life is going to be better off after I spoke a couple of words to them because of the gift that God has given me. So firstly, what's the purpose of your business? What's the idea worth working for? How is my business moving the community, moving humanity, moving Howick forward? What's positive about my business between other people? It's the first thought. Secondly, growing to reach your maximum potential. So in other words, when you start your business and your business is successful, now you got to ask yourself, where is the maximum capacity of the business? And that you can only answer when you've been in it for a couple of years. Because then you know the market, then you know the ceiling, and you've exploited all other opportunities. Then you find the maximum capacity. Where is that maximum capacity? Right. And then lastly, value. Sowing positive seeds to empower other people and benefit other people. In other words, what's the value that I'm offering you? And I want to challenge all of us to offer real value to the market. Excellent customer service, top quality products and services. Excellence, excellence, excellence. It's quite shocking how bad customer service is in South Africa. It's terrible. If you are a kingdom citizen and you have a business, there's no excuse for bad service because you are disrepresenting God's kingdom, and He is not pleased with that. Have you guys noticed that God's systems work? The sun wasn't late this morning. I forgot to come up. Sorry, guys. But I'm here now. It's 10 o'clock, but I'm here. The sun was never late. Ever, ever. God's systems work. And if you follow His pattern, then your systems in your business needs to work. Then you are a true representative of the kingdom in your business. Does that sound legit? Are you guys with me? And even if you have just good customer service, not even great, people will still love you in South Africa. That's how bad the service levels has dropped. People are almost like shocked when you give them good service. And if you give a customer good service, they'll always come back. They will never ever use somebody else, ever. Even if your prices are a bit more expensive than the competitor. because they trust you. Okay, that's in theory a successful business. Does that make sense? Okay, now, what is a successful business model? That's the next slide. Yes, a successful business model. And it's basically answering these 4 questions, which is, can I generate a lead? Yes or no? A lead is somebody that's interested in your business. If you have an online business, it's somebody that applies online for your service. If you've got a transport business, it's somebody that's using your transport. If you've got a shop, a lead is somebody that steps into your shop. Okay, so that's a lead. It's basically, can I generate a customer? Second question, can I convert the generated lead or customer into a sale? Can I get the person to put his hand in his pocket and make a payment? That's the most difficult thing in business. Who realized that? To get somebody to pay you. And if they do, it's like a small victory. Even now, if I've got my phone in my pocket and there's an SMS coming through that somebody made a payment for a business plan, it's like a mini victory every single time. It's like, yes, got another one. Because it's not easy. Right, so that's the second thing. The third thing is lead satisfaction. Can I deliver what I promised? Can I satisfy the lead that I generated and converted into a sale, into a satisfied client or customer? Is the customer service good enough? Is the product quality good enough? Etc., etc. And then your last question for a successful business model is, let me check my notes, lead retention. Can I get the lead to come back for more business because you already paid X amount for that lead? Or can I get that lead to at least send me a referral or leave a testimonial on my Facebook page or my Google page? Are you guys with me? That's a successful business model. Can I generate a lead? Can I convert the lead into a sale? Can I satisfy the client's or the lead's needs? Can I retain the lead? Important, 4 very important questions that. Then the last part of a successful business is the end result, the next slide. So the end result of a successful business, and this is a very challenging one, and it's something that I'm not necessarily at, but I know it's somewhere where I need to get to. And it basically says, first of all, your business needs to be system dependent, not people dependent. Okay, so you want to build a business that's system dependent, not people dependent. You want a business that works without you working it 24/7. In other words, you need to leave the business for 3 to 6 months without getting a single phone call from the staff and everything's functioning normally. That's a successful business. Very difficult. So as I'm saying, I'm not saying that I've achieved this, I'm saying that's where I'm going. And lastly, a business with healthy cash flow, a business that has cash flow in excess of 3 months' expenses, that you can cover at least 3 months' expenses without trading a cent in those 3 months, without making a cent. You need to cover 3 months' expenses. That's a successful business at the end result. So we looked at it in theory, John Maxwell's quote. We looked at it in a business model. That's the middle part. How do I develop this thing to get to the end result? Which is then a system-dependent business, which you can leave with healthy cash flow. Right. Happy days. Any questions? Taking some water. Now, in order to get to the right business strategy, which is first of all, it's very important to identify the right strategy before you start to draw up the vision. Because the vision will ultimately be faulty if the strategy is not accurate based on market stats. You guys with me? Okay, so I'm going to start with the right business idea. Now, whether you are an aspiring entrepreneur that wants to start a business from scratch, or whether you have an existing business, it's important to focus on the right idea. So even if you have an existing business, it might be struggling up to now, you can't seem to grow it, you really got to ask yourself, am I busy with the right thing? It's as simple as that. So we're going to take a look. So after we do the right business idea, we're going to take a look at your economic engine. Then I'm going to show you the business research that I'm going to leave with you, which is your homework. It's a lot of work, but it's going to be very insightful and it's going to be very, very beneficial to you. But let's start off with the right business idea. So the right business idea is this model that I'm using. So in this model, you'll see there's 3 circles, and in the middle, there's a red star. Okay, so the idea is to look at the concepts of the 3 circles, and then, yes, it's actually on your blueprint. If you go to the first page, you'll see the 3 circles with a star. The idea is to line up all 3 concepts and find the sweet spot in the middle. So there's something that will include your passion and your dream, that will include your technical ability, your skills, and that will be a good business model. All right, so many times, especially today with the younger generation, I'm also young, but with the young generation, we tend to focus more on the passion and the purpose. Then we launch this business, but the idea is not profitable. It's not going to benefit anybody. And then we get upset because people are rejecting us. Okay, but you gotta include all 3 to make sense of it. So, firstly, let's start off with passion. When you think about your business idea, you gotta be passionate about the idea. Now again, we're at this idea. This is the thing that really must be an idea worth working for. An idea worth working for is something that is going to benefit other people. It's going to move humanity forward. It's going to move the community forward. It's going to have a positive impact on other people. So that you need to be passionate about. So even though personally I'm not passionate about the admin of a business plan, I'm still passionate about the idea of a business plan because it gives hope. It gives hope for a better tomorrow. When we write a business plan for somebody and we do it at an affordable price, it means that that person now has a seed of hope that could change his world, could change his perspective on life, correct? So the idea behind the work is a great idea. It makes me passionate. I'm passionate about giving people hope. Am I passionate about the work? Well, will work ever be nice? Got to ask yourself that. But the idea must be something that says, I'm willing to lay my life down for this. You guys with me? Right, so passion, a few examples is, it basically fuels you. Passion fuels you. It's like the petrol to your engine. Without the petrol, you are going to get stuck somewhere in the middle of the desert and it's going to be game over. So you've got to have that passion. It inspires people around you. When you are passionate about your business and every day you're in your employees' faces and you give them the vision, you give them the purpose, the idea, eventually they're going to say, wow, this is incredible. I want to go with this guy because he's passionate about what he's doing. I see my role in the business. I know where I'm going. Interesting, one person with a branding company the one day approached me and he said, you know, I've got this new employee and I'm struggling. She's not buying in. She's not working hard, this and that and all the issues. Then I looked at him. I know the guy well. I said, listen, what's your business vision? And he said, it doesn't really have a vision. I said, well, how on earth You want an employee to buy into your business if there's no vision, because you don't have a vision, you're not passionate about what you're doing. You got to have a vision to be passionate. So I'll get to that. But passion is important and it inspires people around you. Then it also can give you, as an aspiring entrepreneur, the concept of passion can give you an indication of the market or the industry that you can approach. If you're passionate about building stuff, then construction's a good idea. If you're passionate about fixing stuff, then being an auto mechanic is a good idea. If you're passionate about food, obviously, a restaurant's a good idea. Okay, so passion can indicate what industry you can trade in, but it can also indicate what's the idea that really gets you excited about what you're doing. Why are you willing to lay your life down for this? Very important question. Secondly, strength. And you got to ask yourself, what's my technical skill? What am I technically good at? You got to ask yourself, what's my talents and my abilities? What's my God-given talent? What can I do better than other people? All right. That's a second indication of how to get to the right idea. Then lastly, your economic engine, very important. This is where we mainly miss the mark. People normally know what they're passionate about. They normally know what they're good in. But it's this lack to take those two components and really infuse it into a business model that's valuable for other people, that people are willing to pay money for. Right? That's normally where the baton gets dropped. And you got to ask yourself, what's my value proposition? If I'm a retail or if I sell food, what's my value proposition to you? If you're going to come and buy the food. It's a simple example. Ray, do you know what the value proposition will be? Well, if I sell you food, you can eat. That's my value proposition. You're not going to go hungry. So you got to ask yourself, the product or the service that you are selling, why does somebody need it? Is it a necessity or is it a luxury? Necessity, very important. So Liam over here had a very good conversation with me the one day. This was in 2018. When I was trying to launch this entrepreneurship program. I was very passionate. I was passionate about it. I was skilled in it. I had the talent, correct? But the model was lacking because I didn't think practically about it. And I was sitting with Liam and I was venting my frustration because the people don't want the course. Why not? And we were and this and that and that. And he told me something, I'll never forget it. He said, what's the difference between our business and your business? So they do compliance, right? PTY registration, tax, VAT, all those things. And I was sitting there and I thought to myself, oh, I do education, you do compliance, whatever. What's the big deal? And he was trying to get the point through to me that without the compliance, people can't apply for a tender. Without the tender, there's no money. So whether they want the compliance or not, it's a necessity, right? You guys getting what I'm saying? Is anybody going to ask Entrepreneur X, before I give you the tender, did you do Brent's course? No. So it's not a necessity, it's a luxury. This guy's budget is very tight. Can you afford a luxury? No. But I need the compliance because I've got a chance to get a tender. And that took me too long to understand, that I'm proud of. I didn't get it that day, I want to assure you guys. I got it when I nearly went bankrupt. In 2019, when I realized, I got to look now at what people need. It's time to put the practicality into the model. So you got to look at the value proposition. Then I got it. If I sell a business plan, you can apply for funding. When you get to the bank, or when you get to DTI or CEDA or CIFA, and you say, I want a loan, what's the first thing they're going to ask you? Where's your business plan? There's my model. There's my value. You need it, otherwise you can't apply. So I'm going to have business. It's not so difficult when you think about it, ne? Right, the second thing, competitive advantage. You got to ask yourself, if I take my skill set, my technicality, my expertise, how can I make this more competitive than the competitor? And I'll get to that now. That's just a thought. Just keep it as a thought for now. And unique selling proposition is taking your unique soul that God has given you and asking yourself, what makes me unique without being weird? Just be normal unique. If you're normal unique, you're going to get to that thing that makes you different than the competitor. Steve Jobs used to say, don't try to be better than the competitor, try to be different. So he obviously shows that because Apple is different to all the other applications and the softwares out there. It's really different. I can say that because I have an iPhone and I have a Dell. So I've got Android, Microsoft, and I have Apple. And Apple's just different. I say, don't just be different than the competitor, be better and be different. So be more competitive and be a different experience. It's going to be a breath of fresh air. And they can't copycat you. Right. You guys with me? Do you need a break? Do you need a break? All right, we have still just a couple of minutes to go, about 45 or so. There's no tea break. There's only a lunch break. Yes, okay. The next slide is a nice challenge. Okay, you can't really see what's going on there. I'll just explain it here. So, way back in 2019 when I did my presentation here on rebooting the economy of Howick, I made it very practical to how a community can pull together and start a couple of businesses that supports each other and really builds the economy of the community. So in order to build an economy, you can't just pass the buck around in the same economy. So you're not going to build an economy if you say there's 5 coffee shops, the one business owner leaves, the other one takes over, the other one leaves, the other one takes over. You're not going to build an economy. You're just ventilating the current economy over and over and over, correct? To really build an economy, you want to create a money magnet. In other words, you want to create something that's drawing money from the outside of the community to the inside of the community. And then you want to distribute that money, you want to ventilate that in the community. But once the money is coming from the outside in, the community funds are growing. And then it's being ventilated around. Okay, so that's the idea. So you got to look at, as you look at, as an individual, you look at the right business idea. As a community, you look at the right business ideas. Okay, so you got to again go and say, what's our natural resources? That's block number A, that's top left. What's the natural resources of Howick that we can use to attract people from the outside to spend money in the inside? In other words, how can we get the people of Johannesburg to spend their money in Howick? And then how can we take the money that's being spent in Howick and ventilate it in the climate of Howick? All right? So you're sitting with Howick Falls, the forestry industry, the agriculture. So that's your natural resources. And we had a conversation this morning about adventure sports, rock climbing, abseiling, trail running, mountain biking, camping, etc., etc. So you got to use the resources that you have at your disposal. That's very important. You guys with me? Right. Secondly, you got to take a look at the assets. You've got one massive asset in Howick. The N3. It's huge. It's when it's not blocked. That's why we're here, to shine the light. So you've got the N3, and what the N3 provides you is traffic from point A to point B. The question becomes, how do I get the traffic to stop and spend money? That's what you got to ask. Yes, that's what you got to ask yourself. What's the need of people that is driving through Howick? And how do I address the need, get them to stop their car and spend money here rather than Pietermaritzburg? Not that we're against Pietermaritzburg, I'm just saying, if we're being competitive, right? This is business. Okay, you guys get what I'm saying? Then the last thing is your economic engine. Then you take the natural resources, you take the assets, and you start building an infrastructure of businesses. Not under one person, but everybody builds a business. In other words, what I'm trying to say is, if you've got strong tourism, then you create power groups. You get somebody that does logistics. They get the tourists from the airport, they bring them here. Then you get somebody with the accommodation. They sort out the accommodation. They've got their own business. Then person number 3, he's the adventure person. He then does a couple of adventure things for the tourists, rock climbing, abseiling, etc., etc. The key here really is to ask yourself, what does the tourist want? If we're building business based on other people's needs, what do they need? Then you base your model around that. Sometimes we're more focused on what we can do, and the market's like, we don't want it, and then we're offended. Rather than being offended, ask yourself, what do they actually want? Let me make what they want, then it's going to be an easy sale. Correct? If you are hungry this afternoon and I put a boerewors roll stand outside and I keep you guys busy up to 2 o'clock and you walk out here, who's going to buy boerewors? It's because it's what you need. You're hungry now. You're going to buy. And that's just based on thinking about what people need. Then you got to capitalize, and I said that previously as well, you got to capitalize on the forestry and the farmlands. So here's a simple idea. You've got Mondi over here, massive forestry company. Instead of cutting the wood, and I'm not sure how the model works, but let's say you cut the wood, you transport it, and somebody else in, let's say, Durban or Eastern Cape or wherever, they do the furniture, etc., etc. Rather build businesses here that one cuts the tree, the other one varnish or, cuts it down into little pieces. Then you get a third party, they make furniture. Then you get a fourth party, they transport the furniture from the workshop to whoever's purchasing the furniture. There you just created 4 different businesses. And you don't have to do everyone yourself. You just work in little power groups and you give each one a business to operate. But that's working with your natural strength. That's working with what's at your disposal. All right. Who's getting ideas? Nobody. All right. Okay, so the next slide. And I've already touched on this a bit, but let's go through it again. It's so important. You got to ask yourself, what really drives my economic engine? You got to ask yourself that, and you got to be clear on what drives the economic engine. If nothing is driving the economic engine, people's not going to spend money. If people aren't spending money, you go bankrupt. I always say, money isn't everything in business. For me, purpose, passion, and the idea with working for is more important than money. But money shows the health of your business. If there's no money in the bank, you've got a sick business. If there's money in the bank, you've got a healthy business, right? And there's a very important principle here, a law. You'll be paid exactly according to the amount of value you bring to the market. It's very important. I'm going to give you guys an example. If I'm in Belleville and I stop at Checkers, I get approached by two people. One person comes to me and says, I'm going to watch your car. Okay? The second person comes to me and says, you know what, I've got a car wash business, I'm going to wash your car. Who's going to get the most money? The car wash. Now note that both of them have the exact same amount of time to offer me a service. One service is, I just gotta show you guys how they nowadays watch cars. Can I just borrow this? How they watch cars there in Belleville. And if somebody steals your car, they'll never see it because they're looking Facebook. So what value is that adding to my life? It's not adding any value. If somebody steals my car, I come to you, stole my car. I don't know. You probably were in on the deal. That's just a joke. But the person that washes the car offers me more value because now he's saving me 2 hours. I don't have to go home today and wash my own car. It's fantastic. But again, I'm going to say both of them have the exact same amount of time to offer me a service. One offers more value than the other one, so I give more money to the one than the other one. Are you guys with me? It's about value. You've got to ask yourself, what's my value proposition? What is the value of my product or my service that I'm offering to the market that they need? And it's simply, again, am I selling a necessity or am I selling a luxury? If you're selling a luxury, it's not all hope is lost. You really just got to ask yourself, how do I change my luxury into a necessity? In the current industry I'm currently trading, what's the market telling me that's really important for them that I'm missing? Because maybe I just need to divert a little bit in order to accommodate them. All right. Secondly, competitive advantage. What can your business do better than other people or companies? Thirdly, unique advantage. What makes you different and unique? And then lastly, thinking about the sweet spot. Doing your market research. It's an incredible template, this. And if I can just take you guys through this. So the first page we just covered, but I'm not cover the rest. I'm not going to cover the rest because it's too much. And I've put instructions there for every single thing that I list on this document. All right? So if you can scroll to page number 6. The first important thing is to go do a bit of research, because the way that you find out what people need is to go and look what they need and what they're searching for and what they want and what their frustrations are, etc. And the way you do that is you do a bit of internet digging. So there's 2 great tools that I've got over here that you guys can use. The first one is Google Trends. Okay, it's as simple as logging into your smartphone device or your laptop, make sure the Wi-Fi is working, and just type there Google Trends. The first thing that's going to come up is the website or the link for Google Trends. Click on the link, and then you'll see they ask you, what do you want to search for? And now you think, in what business am I? Let's say I'm selling chocolates. I want to know if I'm going to start a chocolate shop, what are the people looking for? Let's say I am very fond of the Frey chocolate, which is on page number 7. Which I am, by the way. It's a better chocolate for me than Lindt. Anyways, that's besides the point. But let's say I'm now very passionate about chocolate, but I like the Frey brand better than the Lindt. Now I go do my research. I type in Lindt. They give me another option. Type in a competitive search term. So I type in Frey chocolate. Now they give me the results. Which model do you guys think will work? The Frey or the Lindt? The Lindt. It's a no-brainer. I can get emotional about it and go start the Frey shop, but I'm delusional. I'm not going to make a lot of money. Because people are looking, the people have spoken. It's like Survivor, when Jeff says the tribe has spoken. When you do these things, the people have spoken. You got to listen, because that's your business breakthrough right there. Are you guys with me? Okay. The second tool, another incredible tool, is Google Search. In other words, you again go click on that. You can even go onto your Google device or your Google Search, and you can basically say, type in the browser Google Search, and then, or Google AdWords, Google AdWords, that's the right one. So type in Google AdWords, then you're going to see the first link's going to take you to Google AdWords. Create an account for yourself, but the idea is to first do market research with that account. Okay, now there is a video, if you follow one of these links on the document, there is a video that I show you how to create your own account. When you have the account, I show you where to go in order to search. Now, when you search, you got to think to yourself, if somebody goes, okay, I'm going to do an example here. If the geyser bursts in the house, there's water everywhere, you don't know a plumber, the family doesn't know a plumber, none of your friends are a plumber, where do you go? Google. So if I'm a plumber, I want to ask myself, if somebody needs my service, what are they typing into the browser? Plumber. I need a plumber. Plumber near me. Closest plumber. Plumbing shops. Plumbing, etc., etc. Then you type that in, and then you ask Google, how many people per month are looking for what? So based on the stats over here, we can see per month in South Africa, 12,100 people are searching the word Lindt chocolate. We can see 210 people per month are searching for Frey chocolate, which is the better business model. Because that's what the people need. I have this friend in Bellville, he's got a coffee shop, and he hates the pots because he doesn't believe that does justice to the coffee. And then he starts the pots to wonder. I'm like, I thought you hated it. He said, give the people what the people want. If they want pots, give them pots. As simple as that. Okay, and then you're going to continue to page number 9. And I give you a short little summary there of what an industry is. And then the difficult questions start. Okay, now here you really need to be honest. And you got to answer the question simplistically. Don't think about an unnecessary long answer. Just keep it simple, but answer the questions honestly and see what you learn from doing a bit of industry research, doing a bit of market research, looking at who the competitors are, comparing yourself to the competitors, asking yourself, how can I be different than the competitors? How can I be more competitive? And also then looking at the operational process. How am I going to create the product? If I have a business, how am I creating the product? Can I do it better? Can I do it more efficiently? Can I create a system that's going to create the same one over and over? And then you answer these questions. Out of this document is going to come the truth. Know the truth, and the truth shall set your business free. All right, cool. So there's a lot of work. It's going to take about 4 or 5 hours of intense researching. But I've found in my experience that this is the most important questions to ask about your business or if you want to start a business. And if you can't answer these questions, and just, you got to be flexible with this. So there might be certain areas that's not applicable to your business. That's fine. But if you're going to ignore more than 40%, if you're going to ignore more than 30% of this document, you're ignoring the facts of the market. And that means you disillusioned and your business will not go forward because you're ignoring what people are asking for. All right. Who likes a bit of homework? You lie. Nobody likes it. But it's necessary. But I like the enthusiasm. All right, cool. Next slide is slide number 19. Here's a little quote that says, keep it simple. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. We try to overcomplicate things and make it this very intense idea. No, just look at what the people want and give them what they want. Business isn't complicated. You have it, and they need it so badly they're willing to pay you for it. That should be the simplicity of business. If you listen to the market, if you listen to what the people are telling you. Right. Okay, so I want to skip to slide number 23. 23. Business strategy. Now we're going to get into the meat of a business strategy, which is pretty cool. And then we're going to have a break. Okay, so there is 3 things that's important with a business strategy. And I like to divide it into like 3 pillars of your strategy. And it covers everything that you need to know about your business. Okay, so firstly, the vocal point. Oh, sorry, I'm just going to mention them and then we're going to go to the next slide. So there's the vocal point. Basically, what's the center of attention? Secondly, the unique selling proposition. Thirdly, the competitive advantage. So let's dig into the first one. The first one is the vocal point. Right. Next slide. Yes. So the vocal point, there's 3 areas of focus that you need to look at. The first area is simply understanding the center point of your business. What's the center point of the business? For my business, the center point is SMEs. I want to create products and services that help SMEs to grow. That's the center point. That's personally for me. You got to ask yourself in your business, what's the center point of the business? If it's transport, it's as simple as giving people a lift from point A to point B. That's what they need. If it's a restaurant, it's about a fantastic experience to eat nice food. That's the center point. Keep it simple. Secondly, your value proposition. What is the value proposition you are offering? And there's 3 things to keep in mind with the value proposition. What's the need? Do people need it? Or is it a luxury? The need. Secondly, the urgency. How quickly do they need it? How quickly do they need it? And thirdly, the accessibility. Is there anything that stops people from paying? That is a key question you got to ask yourself. Sometimes you have a product or a service that people need, but there's some sort of process or admin that's stopping or blocking the payment. And you're trying to be theoretically correct. You think it's very important. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the client says, I'm not going to do this. It's going to take too much time. And then you lose the sale. A simple illustration of that is some of my competitors in the business plan way back had like this long form that you had to complete if you're interested in the service. I wanted to test their service. I was busy filling in the form. I think I got to the 4th question. I'm like, I can't. This is too much. Even for a test. I'm like, no ways. Now imagine the client. He's like, question 1, I can't. I'm just going to go. That is red tape unnecessary. That's blocking the sale. Why don't you make it easy for the client? How easy can you make your service for the client? Remove the red tape. Okay, and then thirdly, your brand position. This falls all under the vocal point. All under the vocal point. Your brand position. When people see your brand, what's the initial perception? What do people think when they see your brand? What do they think? What do you think when I say KFC? And chicken. Chicken, that's it. If Ray, let's say Ray, you need to go to Checkers, you need to buy your wife some dishwashing liquid. What brand do you look for? Sunlight. Dishwashing, or Omo if you're looking for washing powder. That's the initial perception. Sunlight. Sunlight did it so effectively, by the way, they changed the industry to their brand. So it's not the dishwashing liquid industry, it's the sunlight industry. And in the sunlight industry, I'm taking a look at all the competitors. You've got Ajax, you've got No Name, you've got Checkers brand, you've got Sunlight. But we all know the industry as Sunlight. That's how effective they were. Anyways, that's just extra stuff. Then secondly, what's the emotional message you are speaking to the client? The emotional message. What's the emotional message? That speaks to my need. So if I'm hungry, and you say you can sell me some food, what's the emotional message? No more hunger. Okay, keep it simple. Then, lastly, your brand, the logical solution. Now, we're going to get to this tomorrow, but I'm going to give you a heads up. People need to understand what your brand is and what you sell within the first 5 seconds they lay eyes on the brand. You only have 5 seconds, then they lose attention. So if your brand does not communicate exactly what you do, the emotional message, the logical solution, within 5 seconds, you have failed in creating a perception. First impressions last. Right? Who knows that? Then you lost the client's interest forever. Maybe not forever, you can get it back, but that's not the right way. Right, secondly, with your business strategy, the next one. So we've got vocal point. Now we're moving to unique selling proposition. Unique selling proposition is answering those 4 important questions that we spoke about earlier, which is, can I generate a lead, yes or no? Can I convert a lead into a sale, yes or no? Can I satisfy the lead, yes or no? And can I retain the lead, yes or no? That's your unique selling proposition. And it goes as follows. Remember, you've got a competitor, and your competitor wants the market, correct? So you've got to think outside the box, okay? Now, lead generation is a fancy word for marketing. Lead conversion is a fancy word for sales. Lead satisfaction is a fancy word for customer service. And unique selling proposition for lead retention is a fancy word for bringing people back. So when you look at the competitor, you really got to ask yourself, I'm currently generating leads on method X. He's currently generating leads on method X. So we're competing head on, correct? If both of us use, let's say, Facebook. If me and the competitor next to me uses Facebook, we're both competing for the same market, right? I got to now ask myself, what's my unique method to get leads where this competitor is not getting leads? In order to do that, I need to know the market. That's why market research is so important. If I don't know the market, I'm not going to utilize the full capacity of the market. Correct? Yes, all right. Secondly, lead conversion is if my competitor and I use the same method to make a sale, what can I do differently than what he's doing to get that person to pay me instead of him? All right. Number 3, lead satisfaction. If me and my competitor has the same level quality product or service, how can I create a different method to my customer service experience than my competitor to create a different result? And what I've seen up to now in my short time in the market is people do what people do. That's it. The creativity stops there. The plumber sees the boss has a plumbing business and he decides, I'm going to start my own plumbing business because I'm doing all the work, right? So now the plumber says, here I go, I'm going to start my business and I'm going to do what this plumber is doing. So everybody is doing what everybody is doing. So now we write business plans, and up to today, I've not been proven wrong yet. If we ask people, what's your competitive advantage? The answer we get is we've got a cheaper price and a better service. I'm thinking to myself, well, eventually somebody's going to offer the service for free because everybody's just going cheaper, 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 cheaper. So if competitors 10 starts with 1,000, then competitor 9 is 900, competitor 8 is 800. Eventually competitor 1 is going to do 100. Can you imagine that business model? Everybody's doing what everybody's doing because people are too afraid to be different. I'm not saying be weird different, I'm saying be logical different. And the way you are logical different is you know your stuff, first of all. You know your stuff, and then you ask, what makes me unique? Now I'm going to combine my knowledge on the market and the industry with my uniqueness, and I'm going to create a unique product. And best part is nobody can copy me. There's this one competitor who's continually copying me on everything that I'm doing. I saw that last week again. And I'm so annoyed, but I'm so flattered because he'll always fail to copy me because he's not me. He's trying though. Not saying he's trying to be me. I think he's trying to figure out how I'm making my money, and I'm doing it by my uniqueness. And now he's trying to copy that. Got to look at your own uniqueness. I'm very flattered though because, it's annoying, but it's flattering at the same time. Anyways. Okay, and then lead retention. You got to ask yourself, if me and my competitor has got the same product and service, we get the same result, what twist can I put on the retaining factor at the end to get that client to come back or send me referrals or whatever? Offer them a discount for the next purchase because you already spent marketing money to get them. So let's say your lead costs you 500 Rand. Let's say that's your cost per lead. Now the lead comes, he does the service, you say, cool, if you ever come back, I'm going to give you 500 Rand discount because I don't have to generate you again, which is going to cost me 500 Rand. It's a very good idea. Yeah, very good. Also, this is important, is ask the person to leave a review on your Facebook. It's like somehow we as small business owners are too proud to ask people to review us if they are happy. Because I don't want to sound like I'm begging, excuse me. So please, just do what you want to do. No! You know how I got credibility as a business coach. Every single client for the first 15 that came through to me got the privilege of appearing on a video with me on the 12th session, and I didn't tell them about it. So they came in, and I'm like, oh, by the way, here's the mic, stick it on there, I'm going to stick mine on here. I quickly get one of the girls to come take the video. Bob's your uncle. I get a testimonial. If I would have told them about it before, they wouldn't pitch up because they are shell-shocked for the camera. So I got to be creative. But suddenly I've got a track record of 15 people that I coached that's successful. And I've got them explaining it in their own words. So that's a form of lead retention. Because now out of that can come referrals. And people go, by the way, people make buying decisions based on what other people think are good and correct. People like them because we are cultural. We are, what's the right word? We are tribal. So if I'm looking at somebody else that's like me, that reviewed this place on Airbnb, and I see the surname, I see the name, I know they like me, right? They say it's 5 out of 5. Great place. What's the chance that I'm going to think it's 5 out of 5? Pretty good, because I'm rationally arguing like this person, based on where we're from. So if you get people to leave a review, you give your potential customer a chance to justify his decision to buy from you. That's not in the notes, but I hope somebody took something there. Okay. Last slide before we go for a short break is your competitive advantage. So we spoke about the center focus point of your business. We spoke about being unique, very practically unique. Now it's about your competitive advantage. And ultimately, when, let's say, all hope is lost, you can't be creative, you've got the same product or service as a competitor, how is the person going to make a buying decision? He's going to look at the weight of the value you offer versus the weight of the value that the competitor is offering. Right? Are you guys with me? That before you buy from me, let's say, Matt, I come to you and I say, I want to do business coaching for you. What's the first couple of questions you think of that you want to ask about the service? Okay, so I'm offering business coaching. It's a 12-week process, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I'm going to give you X, Y, Z, what's included, very important. How much does it cost? And one more. Expertise, okay, there's one more important. Time. Okay, it's in the name of my product, but people want to know how much does it cost, how long will it take, and what's included. It's the three vital questions that gives you a competitive advantage. What's included? What's in it for me with him? What's in it for me? How long will this take? What does it cost? Ben, does that make sense? It's the age-old questions we've ever had from day one that we've purchased something up to the day we die. We want to know those three things. If you're offering me something, those are the three things I want to know. Included, you want to add in, what do you need? What's the requirements for this product or service? That's the fourth question that people want to know. What do you need from me to start? And lastly, it is accessibility. Again, red tape. Is there anything that's stopping the purchase? Yes or no? Is there anything that's stopping the purchase? You need to figure that out. And I'll touch on that again tomorrow a bit in the sales pitch. Okay, because that's the sales pitch is the area where you figure out if there's any red tape that's blocking the sale. Okay. And that is basically it. So I would just want to encourage you, the last part of the strategy is create a package. When you have a package, I can tell you my package for a business plan now. I'm going to give you one. We've got an entry-level business plan for 2,900 Rand. It takes you 4 to 5 working days. What we need from you is a business plan questionnaire that we will provide you with. And what you get out of it is a funding-ready business plan if you want to apply for funding. It's the easiest sales pitch in the world because I've got a package. I know every aspect of the service. I explain it to you logically, and you can make a logical decision. So not only will a competitive advantage put weight to your offering, it will help your sales pitch. And if you answer those things, it costs 2,900, it takes 4 working days. What I need from you is a questionnaire, and what's included for you is a business plan that's funding ready. How many questions do you still have about my service? How many questions are left? Almost nothing. You're like, oh. Now I've just given you an opportunity. And the cost is very important, by the way. Sometimes we try to keep the cost away from people because we're afraid they're going to leave the website, right? They're actually going to leave the website because they can't measure the cost against the rationality of their budget. So sometimes people have X amount of budget. No matter how good your product or service is, if it goes over that X amount of budget, they'll never buy because they don't have the money. So rather give them something to compare the service with. And then it's easier to make a sale. Cool. So Ray. Yes, we can take a lunch break. After 30 minutes, we can come back. I would say 12 o'clock. And if you don't pass, you pay for your lunch. You're raising the stakes. Okay. So you guys will see a second document on your chairs. This is now the architect stepping up and saying, right, the idealist did his homework and he checked out what's really going on in the market. He understands what he's busy with. And now the architect is stepping into the game. And he says, I'm going to draw up a blueprint now to give the builder to build rationally, logically a business. Right. So who learned something in the first session? I hope. Yes, great. Great. Okay, so we're going to get going now with the second part, or basically session number 3, which is slide 28, going to slide 29. We're going to go now to session number 3, which is vision. And I think vision is one of those cliche things in life where, like, everybody talks about a vision. So you hear on the one side people say you need a vision. Then on the other side people say you need a purpose. Then this person says you need a dream. And there's all these cliche words that comes up, but really what does it mean? And I'm here to break open practically the concept of a vision versus purpose versus dream. So first of all, the dream is the idea worth working for. That idea is the impact or the influence that your business will have on a community, a society, a group of people, or a market, or whatever the case is. The concept of vision really defines and brings in the concept of purpose, strategy, and tactics. So that's what we're going to talk about now. What is a vision and how do you put one together? Right, so vision, very simply defined, is the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination, wisdom, and perspective. That's vision in a nutshell. And you're never too old to dream a new dream. I just thought I'd throw that in. How many of you know Colonel Sanders? Thank you. How many know Colonel Sanders from KFC? How old was he when he started his business? 68. True story. He was a war veteran, he did a bunch of stuff, then he tried to commit suicide, he couldn't get that, so he was failing in all the departments, even the suicide one. And then after that, he now asked himself, okay, I think he had his last $200 or something like that, and it was, am I going to use this $200 on whatever? Am I going to use this $200 to buy chicken, to use my secret recipe, to make some people some chicken? And that's what he did. He made some chicken at 68. Then he started one of the most famous franchises in the history. If you go down these incredible entrepreneurs, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Colonel Sanders, Ray Kroc, all these guys, nobody of them had superpowers. I just want to make this point clear. Nobody had superpowers. It was somebody that had an idea, he was passionate about the idea, he was good in the idea, and he managed to make money from the idea by looking at what people need. All right. Okay, so that's basically vision. And to make it very simple, and I mentioned this example earlier in the session, to make it really simple, it basically comes down to an entrepreneur has 3 different personality traits, characteristics. The first one is a dreamer. You got to have an idea. It's an idea worth working for. It's a dream that's there to serve humanity and push people forward. So after this session, I'm going to come to any number of you and say, what's your dream? And then you tell me, what's the idea worth working for? Right? Okay, secondly, he's an architect. The ability to take that idea, create a practical blueprint that can now bring the dream to life. And then lastly, hands it over to the leader. The leader rolls up his sleeves and he's like, let's get to work. Are you guys with me? Okay, so that's in a nutshell the characteristics and the personality traits of an entrepreneur. And the next slide, slide number 31. Yes. So a vision is a blueprint, a practical blueprint that shows you how the dream will come to life. A vision is the roadmap the architect draws up to build the dream home. That's a vision. It's a document, very detailed, flexible, and to the point. Not 80 pages like your normal business plan for funding. It should be to the point concepts. All right, so that's what you'll see on this My SME blueprint that's handed out. A vision always consists of a purpose, a strategy, and a tactical approach. The purpose, again, is the idea worth working for. The strategy we've covered before lunch. It's your vocal point, your unique selling proposition, your competitive advantage. The tactical approach is now the step-by-step process I'm going to use to roll this vision out. 3 phases. That's important. Phase number 1, you got to launch. Oh no, sorry, forget that. Phase number 1, you got to plan. Do your planning. And that's what that other blueprint's all about. You do your planning, you do your branding, all your strategies, etc. Then phase number 2 is the test. Okay, so there's a phase where you plan your business in detail. But you're not sure if it's going to work or not, right? It might fail, it might not fail. The problem with failure comes in if you admit that if I fail, it's the end. It's the end of the matter. That's the problem with failure. So if you think your business can only work like this, there's no other way to do the business, and it doesn't work, you're in trouble. But if you keep an open mind, if you keep flexible, you test it, and you read the data from the test. What does the market tell me now? How many leads did I generate? Of those who didn't convert into sales, what did they tell me was the problem? Was it price? Was it the need? You need to get as much information as you can from the people, the market, in order to make sure that the test speaks to you. Again, I'm going to say, if you believe there's only one way to do business, and you launch that way and you fail, you're in trouble. But if you say, you know what, I'm going to firstly do my planning, so I've got my homework. Secondly, I'm going to test this thing out. Is it working, yes or no? And you keep an open mind. If it's not working, the question is not, I'm doomed, this is the end. The question is, why is it not working? What did I learn in my test? Then you adjust the model and you retest. If it's not working a second time, why? Adjust the model, retest. You retest until you manage to generate a lead, convert the lead into a sale, satisfy the lead. That's when the test finishes. Then you say, from the test phase, I'm going to go to full launch because I found the secret recipe. Are you guys with me? All right. So that's the 3 phases of the tactical approach. Now, if you have an existing business and it's not working, in other words, you're not growing to your maximum capacity, you got to ask yourself, have I done planning way back when I started the business, yes or no? Maybe it's just time to do planning again. Just say, I'm going to plan again. Because this business is not working, I need to take a look at replanning. If I do replanning, what do I learn from the replanning? Then maybe just adjust your model a bit. Then you test. What's the feeling of the market? when I do my test now. And then maybe you learn something new about your business. And that's the breakthrough you've been looking for. I think a lot of it has to do with the perspective that you bring to the game. Perspective. The way that you look at something. Perception. The reason why the marketing that Sunlight did is so incredible, where they changed the industry to their name, is what they did. They bought the space in our minds that they number one. They literally own our minds. Those dendrites I showed you earlier, there's a couple of Sunlight dendrites in there. And the moment you think of the industry, you think Sunlight, because it's part of your brain. So sometimes it's about looking at your way of thinking about something and just asking yourself, is this a rational thought that I'm having now? Or is this a destructive thought? And just change the way you look at things. All right, I'm not going to go into motivational speaking now because that's not what I do. I believe if you give people the right knowledge, they will be motivated. But if I motivate you now and I leave, and tonight you get an SMS from ABSA and it says transaction declined, the motivation's gone. You have to watch the video tomorrow again. But if I leave you with knowledge, then you can go and apply it. And it's incredible. Every time, the bank balance can be how low, but that never distinguishes or determines the hope inside of me. Because I've got a vision, I know where I'm going, and I'm passionate about it. So there's something about hope that's not in the bank balance, but it's in the idea you're busy with. Knowing what you're busy with. That comes from the research. Anyways, okay. Right. So every vision must consist of a purpose, a strategy, a tactical approach. We did take a look at strategy. The next slide, 32. So you'll see from my content it's very repetitive. And I do it on purpose because I want you to catch the main important things. So for you to catch the main important things, I'm going to continually show you the main things. And I'm going to just go over and over and over and over. Did you guys know John Maxwell said, for an employee or a staff member or a team member to understand what you mean, you need to repeat yourself 7 times. That makes sense. So I'm repeating myself more than 7 times, so you have no excuse. Anyways, okay. Then the next slide, 33, is basically your tactical approach. The tactical approach is the foundation of the business, and what you need to build in the tactical approach is a solid foundation, which is a viable business model. That's what you want to do. And a business model consists of 5 building blocks. So if you want to build a foundation for your business, there's 5 building blocks. And it's impossible to build a building without a foundation, correct? So my dad always said, way back when he was a teenager, they would go to Durban. He's from Pretoria, so they would go to Durban for holidays. And like this one time they go and then you see they're busy with a foundation for a big building at Amamzimtoti. And the next year they're busy with a foundation. Now that was obviously those years when everything took a bit longer. So the 3rd year busy with a foundation, the 4th, 5th, up to the 6th year, just the foundation. You don't see any progress. Then suddenly year number 7, there's a building. But 6 of the years went into the foundation. And the foundation is so important for you to build a successful business. So when you look at vision, it really starts at the top with your purpose. Then from the purpose, you move down to the strategy. And then from the strategy, you move down to a solid foundation. And that's what your planning phase is all about. You want to plan the foundation of your business. Then you test the foundation. When it works, then you grow the foundation. Okay, sometimes we want to grow too quickly, which is not always necessary. So the first building block is a business strategy. That's the cornerstone of the foundation. That's why I'm spending so much time on the strategy. If you've got a clear strategy, vocal point, unique advantage, competitive advantage, then you're going to have, building block number 2, a clear idea of how the brand needs to look. Because you understand what you're selling, correct? And the branding is giving somebody a perception of what you do. That's branding. So that's the second building block. The third building block is marketing. So if you understand your strategy, you understand how you need to get the message to the market. The fourth building block is your sales. If you can generate leads, you know the strategy, then you know how to sell because you've got a competitive advantage. Now you can sell your package to the consumer, correct? And then lastly, product service delivery. After you've made the sale, can you deliver the product, yes or no? So those are the 5 building blocks to really get your business going with a strong foundation. Very important. And this is the thing that you plan, this is the thing that you test, and this is the thing that you then expand, grow on. All right. The next slide, number 34, if we look at vision in itself, vision results in 3 things, very important. Vision results in 3 things in your life. The first one is discipline. Vision results in discipline. Who's got a discipline problem? It could be because of a lack of a vision. We'll explore that. Vision produces discipline, and I'll prove that from the Bible. Secondly, vision produces direction. It shows you where you should go. Remember, vision is the blueprint, the roadmap that maps out the journey. And passion is the fuel that gets you to the end point of the journey. That's vision gives you direction, and then lastly, it makes you passionate. Right, so if you go to the next slide, 35, Proverbs 29 verse 18, incredible piece of scripture. Solomon says, where there is no vision, the people cast off restraint. But blessed is he who keeps the law. Where there's no vision, I want to focus on the A part. Where there's no vision, people cast off restraint. That word cast off restraint means throw off self-discipline. It's incredible. It's incredible. It's a revelation. Where I don't have vision for something, I throw off self-discipline. Then why should I go do it if I'm not going to achieve anything? Who wants to become a Springbok rugby player? Ben, would you go and kick 100 kicks tonight to practice your pole kicking, your goal kicking? No. If you don't have a vision for something, you're not going to discipline yourself for something. It's very simple. All right. Any questions on that? No. Okay. Next slide. A couple of thoughts on discipline that's very narrow. You can't really read there. Rachel does have the presentation. I'm sure she can email it to all of you if you just ask. All right, so just get the email address from her. She can mail it to you. But I'll just go through it on this side. So the idea of discipline, now remember where there's no vision, people cast off restraint, they throw off self-discipline. Discipline is self-imposed standards for the sake of a higher goal. That's discipline. Self-imposed standards for the sake of a higher goal. In other words, I take responsibility, I am accountable for the higher goal, which is the purpose of the business. I need to discipline myself. This is a good one. I'm going to throw it in here. And I'm going to do the market research. No, you're not going to pay somebody to do the market research for you. You need to discipline yourself and say, let's look at leadership. Just on a side note, leadership is really the ability to take responsibility, and you're accountable for something. That's a leader, correct? So if you can't take responsibility and if you're not accountable for something, you're not a leader. The root of leadership is discipline. So I give you the homework to do. Now, if you have really a higher goal in business, you're going to discipline yourself and work through this no matter how difficult it is. And you're not going to pay somebody to do it for you. You can't pay somebody to be creative on your behalf, right? Okay. So I've anyways made it so easy that you don't really need to pay somebody. You just need to put in the effort. Okay, so self-imposed standards for the sake of our goal. Vision is the source of discipline and the root of leadership. And it's interesting, vision disciplines life in the following way. There's a couple of examples I want to mention over here. Vision chooses your future, your friends, your library, your use of time, use of energy, where you invest your money, your to-do list, your attitude, your values, etc., etc. If I am passionate about my business, I've got a vision, I know where I'm going, I've got imposed standards, self-imposed standards for the sake of a higher goal, I'm not going to take my money and spend it on Bitcoin, hoping to get rich quick. Okay? I'm not saying Bitcoin's wrong. I'm not saying it's wrong, don't do it. I'm saying I have a vision. If I'm really serious about my vision, I'll respect what I do with the money. And that money is going into the vision, correct? So up to today, I pay my salary as follows. End of the month, I work out the employee salaries, I pay them. Then I work out the other expenses, the rent, etc., etc. And then there's money left. Now I need to decide, am I going to spend all that money on myself? Buy a nice car. That would be nice. Dressing very nice clothes. Right? Eating at restaurants. Or I can say, you know what, I don't really need this much. I'm just going to pay myself what I need now, and the rest I'm going to keep in the business because I want to grow the business. I'm passionate about the business. Are you guys with me? It's just an example. All right, so vision chooses these things. If I go to the bookstore and I've got a vision to build a successful entrepreneurship business that really focuses on SME services and helping the people, empowering them, and I see two different books. Let's say there's Warren Buffett's book, which is 10 Keys to Investment Success, and I see Steve Jobs' autobiography, The Best Entrepreneur to Ever Live. Which is the better buy? Steve Jobs, because he's an entrepreneur. I'm not saying Warren Buffett's book is wrong. I'm saying vision chooses my library. It chooses what I'm going to read because I've committed to the vision. You guys with me? All right, it's incredible how simple and how easy your life becomes if you have a vision. It's so simple because vision makes the choices. Okay. Right, next slide. Vision gives direction. It's the roadmap or the compass that guides you along the path to accomplish the purpose. It gives you clarity. Vision gives you clarity because you know now where you are going. So if I am on this journey to build my SME, and its SME services, empowerment, growth, etc., then it's really clear for me which services I need to do. Am I going to bring in, for argument's sake, construction services? Let's say building a house. No, I'm not, because I'm focused on where I'm going, so I've got a clear vision. Even though there's a gap in the market for construction, right? There's ground, people want houses, etc. It's a good business model. I've got a vision to build what I do. Okay, it's just simple examples. I'm trying to make it simple. And this is one of my favorite parts. A clear vision enables you to travel light, not all the baggage. I hope that makes sense. But there's this incredible scripture in Matthew 10. I'm just going to throw it in there, where Jesus sends out the disciples and he says, go preach the gospel of the kingdom. And then he tells them the following. He says, by the way, go now. Don't take a provisions bag. Don't take extra clothing. Don't take an extra pair of shoes. Don't take any food. Travel as you are. And then there's one specific version that says, because what do you need each day? 3 meals. Travel light. And vision helps you to travel light, because you don't take on all this extra baggage that's unnecessary, because you know where you're going. And you've backed it up with planning. Am I right? It's not just a thumbsuck idea and here we go, but you haven't done proper research. You've done your research. You know what you're doing. You've committed to it. Right, next slide. Passion. Vision stirs up your passion. Passion is the fuel that drives your engine on the journey. Very important. So, interesting, there's one person who has a definition for leadership that I'm really fond of, Miles Monroe. And he said that leadership is the capacity to influence others through inspiration, generated by passion, convicted by vision, ignited by a purpose. It's an incredible definition of leadership. And it basically, there's a sequence to leadership. And it's the same sequence to entrepreneurship, and it goes as follows. A person, any individual, discovers an idea worth working for, a purpose, something that's going to benefit other people, push humanity forward, really make a difference. That person now gets convicted about what they are doing with their life and what they should be doing with their life. Now that conviction prompts you to say, okay, I need to do some planning for me to realistically build something that's going to last. So that person now creates a practical blueprint to bring the dream to life. When you see the blueprint, when you see this blueprint, it makes sense. You've done your planning, you've done your research. It's simple, you understand what's going on here. Then you become passionate. Because you see your dream is not that far away than you originally thought. Now you're passionate. You're like, yes, I'm going to do this. Your passion tank is full, right? You're ready to do it. You're ready to build it. Nothing can get you down. Now you inspire people around you, and the passion they see in you inspires them. Once they're inspired, on their own, their action changes because you inspired them. That's leadership. When you inspire people through passion because you have a vision that you've committed to. When you change somebody's action without holding a gun to their head, you're a leader. For the better, obviously. You get good leadership and bad leadership. Are you guys with me? Is that clear? Right. So that's why passion is so important, because that is one of the massive components for leadership. Right, next slide. Quickly, we're going to take a look at how a vision develops, and there's 3 vital phases to a vision development. The first one is inception. Now, inception is where the idea gets birthed by the idealist. The idealist births an idea. The idea is an idea worth working for. After the session, I'm going to ask somebody an idea, then I want to hear back an idea worth working for, because I've probably said that about 20 times by now. Right, so inception, the inception phase is the idealist with the idea. And then from the idea, it's starting to think, oh, this could work. You start to see the how, you start to see the what, you start to see the why. And then you're so excited by this idea. Who was there before? Who has been there before? You had an idea, you get so excited, you see this is real, this could happen. Nobody. I've been there many times, right? Then you go to somebody and you say, I've got this idea. And then they say, no, that's not good. And here's why. At the start of every dream, there's only one believer. Who's that? Yourself. AKA, don't share your ideas with people. Except if you trust them because they've got the best intention for you. That's when you share an idea. All right. Cool. But not to family because they'll never understand. Is that the truth? Family always wants to protect you, or they're jealous of you. Either or. If they want to protect you, they don't want to see you get hurt, so they're going to say, no, rather not. If they're jealous of you, it's going to be worse because they want to bring you down. How dare you think there while we're all over here? Just FYI. So don't share that with your family necessarily. Okay, then what happens? Hesitation steps in. You doubt. You fear. And one crucial thing is the result of your doubt and your fear. You stop the momentum. You stop the rhythm. The moment you stop the momentum and the rhythm, that's it. It's going to take a big effort to start again. So one thing you should never do in your life, and that's stop the rhythm. Ever. That's bad. Even if you don't see the outcome, just keep on moving. Even if you have to crawl, if you have to walk, just never stop. The moment you stop, that's the end. Right, so that's the inception phase. You should rather look past the hesitation, the doubt, and the fear to the next phase, which is the action phase. Next slide. Right. So you want to now take action. How do we take action? Planning, research, do your due diligence. Don't pay somebody to do it. You do it. Why? Because you're a leader. You take responsibility. You are accountable for your business. When you stand before God one day, He's going to say, what did you do with the gift that I gave you? And you're going to say, no, the company I paid to do the research told me it's not a good idea. He says, but what did I tell you? I don't know. Yes. Okay, so that's accountability and responsibility. So do your research, your planning. Number 2, action step 2, establish your vision. So and then you take this blueprint and you write the vision down. You write the vision down and you simplify it over and over. So in other words, don't just do one of these documents, do 5. And compare each one with the previous one and see if you're still thinking the same than you did. If they all line up, you know your mind's in the right space. And you really know your models, right? You really know your business. Simplify the vision, understand it by heart. And then number 3, action step 3, commit to your vision. That's possibly the biggest thing that you can do. And if you go to the next phase, I'm going to explain the commitment now. The next slide. There's the 3 phases to build a business, which I've already explained. You get your launch, your planning, your launch, and your testing. Right, planning, launch, testing, and then the next slide of Steve Jobs. Right, so Steve Jobs said, I'm convinced that the only thing separating a successful entrepreneur from an unsuccessful entrepreneur is pure perseverance. That's Steve Jobs. My argument is perseverance is a result. You can't force yourself to persevere. It's a result of your belief system. Correct? Who agrees with me? You can't force perseverance. It's like there's got to be something that's pulling you when you're really tired. Now, let's get back to the concept of commitment. When you write the vision down, by the way, if you don't write the vision down, you don't own the vision. If you write it down, you own it. It's got to be yours. Okay, so now you own the vision. Now you need to commit to the vision. In other words, you need to make a conscious decision that you're going to commit to the vision. A conscious decision. The word decision comes from the Latin word, and it's got the same root as the word homicide. Incredible. It's like the same root. Decision and homicide is more or less the same thing. And it literally means, decision literally means killing off any other alternative. That's what the word decision means. It's powerful stuff. That's why people take long to make decisions, because they know if I make that decision, that's the end. I'm killing off, homiciding any other alternative to the outcome of the decision. So now, we see the picture develop. You do your planning. You're confident about the idea. You write the vision down. If you don't write it down, you don't own it. Now you commit to the vision. You make a decision. You say, this is mine. I'm going to do it. Come hell or high water. Why? Because it's going to impact people's life so and so and so and so. This is going to be the result for the community, whatever the case is. You've made your decision. Suddenly, you persevere. Because you committed to this thing. You've killed off any other alternative. Now perseverance becomes a reality. And that's where Steve Jobs said he's convinced the only thing separating a successful from an unsuccessful entrepreneur is pure perseverance. All right. Everybody still with me? Okay. The next slide is going over to personal vision. And I'm a firm believer that your business should fit into your personal life. Not your personal life into your business. Distinct difference between the two. If your personal life fits into your business, your personal life will get messed up. Because your priority is the business, not your spouse or your children or your family or whatever the case is. But if you've got your personal life on a firm foundation, rooted with the right priorities, and you bring in the business life now, there's balance, there's order, there's control. Okay, so the next slide, number 45. And we can go to the blueprint now. On page number 3. Before you basically go into a business vision, you want to take a look at your personal vision, your personal life, and ask, is my personal life in order, control, and is everything working as it should? And I've got 5 sections for you to consider in your personal life. All right, 5 sections or categories. The first one is the age-old question that everybody wants to know. What's my life purpose? That's a good one. Who's looking for their life purpose? Nobody. So my suggestion is your life purpose is simply the question, how can you utilize your abilities, your gifts, your talents to the advantage of other people? Because now you're serving. Serving is the only form of purpose that you can have on earth. There's nothing else you can take with you. And servanthood ultimately is basically resulting on influence you had on somebody else's life. And that influence on somebody else's life, that echoes a generation to generation to generation. All right, so that's life purpose. What I personally think it is. Secondly, you got to have a dream personally. You got to have a personal dream. Right? You got to dream. You got to believe in something for your life. Not necessarily a fancy car, a big house, or a lot of money, but just think a bit further than those things. What dreams do you have? Where do you want to travel in life? Which area would you want to live? Etc., etc. You got to have a dream personally. Are you guys with me? Not just a business dream. It's got to be a personal dream as well. Right. Then, number 3, section 3, personal growth. We grow by the books we read, the people we spend time with, and the places we go. That's how we grow in life. The books we read, the people we see, the places we go. So if you read the drum or the huisgenoot or the you, is that really growing you? Not necessarily. So what should you read? Go look at the vision. If the vision is the biggest transport company in South Africa, go get a transport book. Go figure out, go learn more about transport. If your vision is a retail shop, a spaza shop, or a retail shop, or whatever, go buy Sam Walton's book, who founded Walmart. Go figure out how he built the most incredible retail empire in the world. That's how you grow. All right. Then, secondly, the people you spend time with. I'm a firm believer we should have a mentor. A mentor is an interesting thing. A mentor is somebody that will not benefit anything from your success or failure. He doesn't or she doesn't want to be your friend. And they've already achieved what you want to achieve. That's a mentor. They don't want to be your friend. In other words, if you invite them on Facebook, they reject. Because if it's your friend, they're not going to be honest. Am I right? If they're going to benefit from your success or failure, they're not going to be honest. You need somebody that's there, that will just give it to you straight. Because know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Ignore the truth, and you will be bound. Is that the opposite of that verse? We'll never know. All right, then lastly, the places we go. You literally grow and increase your mind capacity by seeing new places and experiencing new places. I'll never forget, me and Liam in 2017 went on a trip to Coffee Bay. Who knows Coffee Bay? Transkei. Incredible trip. It felt like a different country. It was a different country, but you never know it's part of South Africa. And now you get there and your eyes and you're like, wow, this is huge. This is different. And suddenly your mind expands and you see a different thing that you never knew before. Are you guys with me? So travel a bit. Get out of your comfort zone. Sometimes we're so in the comfort zone of my culture, my tradition, what we believe as a family. We just stay here. We just keep it here. And then get out of the box. You know, there's people living in Cape Town, Mitchell's Plain, which is the other side of Cape Town, that has never seen Table Mountain from the front. It's 20 kilometers. They've never, ever, ever exited the area. Ever. Okay, so there's this interesting experiment that they did with fleas. So they put fleas in a jar and they closed the jar with a lid. And the fleas normally would jump very high. And then they got them in this jar with a lid, and the fleas kept jumping and hitting the ceiling. And then when they took the lid off, the fleas never exited the jar. They just jumped off muscle memory. I'm here to suggest that our cultures, each and everyone's culture, has a jar with a lid. And the culture puts that lid on. Then we jump. And the people say, no, what are you doing? You can't, we don't do that. Every single culture has that jar, has that lid somewhere. And it's up to you to define the odds. Because there is actually no lid. We just think in our minds there is. And then we just jump. Just don't stir the pot too much. Don't get people too uncomfortable. Keep it here. No, let's just, what's my granny gonna think? What's my agter opa gonna think? when he sees me now? I don't care, he's dead. He's not here. Anyways. Are you guys with me? Personal growth. Get out the box. Number 4, healthy lifestyle. This is a good one. I'm a firm believer that we should have family and friends in life that actually support us and wants the best for us. Alright, so if there's jealousy, you really got to ask yourself, is this a good friendship? This is a thought. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. I'm not a shrink. Right? So, definitely when it comes to healthy lifestyles, you got to ask yourself, my friendships, my health, healthy body, healthy mind equals a healthy business. Because you're going to think logically, you're going to think with your brain, and it's a healthy brain. Alright, so in other words, this is a good one. Daily exercise routines. Very important. Why? Because all the stress builds up and the anxiety builds up. No matter how long you've been in business, it's never comfortable. It's never comfortable. So all that builds up every day. You need somewhere to release that, get the blood flowing, clear your mind, and there's no better way to do it than exercise. And whatever you like. It could be a game of squash, it could be some golf, it could be going to the gym, it could be running, it could be having a hobby on the side, marathons, trail running, etc. But get something just to release a bit of pressure during the week. Doesn't have to be every day. Maybe Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturdays. All right, but just bring that into your routine. The next one is healthy eating habits. That's a good one. Balanced eating. So that doesn't mean you may never have a Lindt chocolate. I have many, but try to balance it out. And sleeping patterns. So just a quick tip on your brain. Did you guys know that when you sleep at night, the brain physically restores itself? And what the brain does if you sleep is it's creating new neuron cells. It's creating new cells. And the scientists say those cells, the next morning when you wake up, is neutral cells. This is incredible. Those cells are not affected by yesterday's decisions, mistakes, failures, negativity. It's a neutral brain cell. So God's mercies are new every morning. Every day He gives you an opportunity to make a new decision that's better. That's why sleeping is so important. 8 hours. Okay, not 8, it's kind of difficult in today's life. At least 7 hours. The scientists say at least 7 to 8 hours. All right, and that takes discipline. But if you really understand the importance of sleeping for your brain, you will not neglect sleeping. All right. Good. Is somebody learning something? Right, fantastic. The last one, hobbies. Very important. It just brings a bit of enjoyment in life. You know, life is tough. We stress. Bank balance, sometimes it's 0. Transactions decline. It's not nice. Employees are difficult some days. Customers are difficult on another day. You got to bring in some enjoyment in life. Get a hobby. Something you do out of work. Again, doesn't mean every single day of your life spend 5 hours on your hobby. It just means go do something that you actually like to do. That's not going to bring in money for you. Fair enough. Ben? Okay, and then the last section is a bucket list. Go write down at least 10 things you want to do before you die. Did you guys know that you are the youngest today you will ever be? True story. Did you guys know that we will never get the 18th of August ever again? It's gone forever. After today, 2021. Tomorrow we are a day older. We can never go back. So I prefer to, when I put my head on my pillow at night, be fully spent and say, I lived a full life today. And if today was my last day, I'm a happy man. I did what I wanted to do. All right, cool. Now we're going over to the next slide, which is slide number 47. And it's going to be very small, so I'm going to fully revert to the template now, the Masikhule blueprint template. Page 7. Now we're going to dig into business vision. Are you guys ready? Now that your personal lives are sorted, there's a bit of structure, let's get into business purpose. And under business vision, you'll see we now have business purpose. Under that, we're going to have strategy. Under that, we're going to have tactical approach. Right. And the business purpose consists of a couple of ideas. The first idea is mainly your idea. And what idea is that? Anybody? An idea worth working for, pursuing. Yes, correct. Right, so your purpose consists of the business idea. What is the idea worth working for? Explain it. You want to know what you're pursuing in life. All right. The second part of your purpose is your mission statement. I'm on a mission to do what? To change the economy for the better. I'm on a mission to change the community through giving people dignity by selling them beautiful clothes. If you're in retail, clothing retail. What's your mission statement? What are you on a mission to do? Right. What's your end goal? At the end of the 10 years you give yourself to build this business, what would you like to achieve? Think? Yes. Try to practicalize that and say, what's a practical form of making a difference? It's a difficult question, but it is possible. Right, then you got to look at your growth stages. Okay, so you get the planning phase. All right, then under the planning phase, you need to tick a couple of goals before you can move to the testing phase. Then you got to tick another couple of goals before you can move to the launching phase. All right, so under the planning phase, you get, do I have a sales strategy, yes or no? Do I have a finalized brand? Do I have a marketing strategy? Finalized sales process, etc., etc. This is all things we're going to look at under the tactical approach. But you bring that into your purpose to bring the goals into alignment with what you are busy with. All right. Okay, then you get the testing phase, the full launch phase, and then the last part of your purpose, very important, business culture. This is a good one. I always like speaking about it because of all the corruption we see in South Africa, correct? And I believe that one of the reasons why there's corruption is people don't actually sit and plan out what my business culture must look like. So if I don't have laws in place for myself, I'm a law unto myself. If I then go for the tender and the person says, by the way, I'm slipping that under the table, I've got nothing to measure my action against because there's no law for me. So nobody's looking, nobody's keeping me accountable, so I can easily take the money. But if you actually go sit and you say, I want an ethical business, and you write it down, and there you'll see I've even made space for you to sign. Ethical declaration. You sign that I will not be corrupt. I will not steal. I will not accept any form of bribes. If you sign it, no matter if nobody else knows it, you know it. So the moment the person slips under the table, the first thought going through your mind is, I'm measuring the action against what I've already signed on. Now, am I taking my own word seriously, yes or no? And if you don't, I don't think there's any hope for you. Right, so business culture. In other words, what is the business rules or laws that you, as a leader, the owner, will govern your business by? Are you guys with me? It's the rules. For me personally, I'll give you an example. The rules for my business is God's word is final authority. So if God's word says no, it's no. If it says yes, it's yes. I submit myself under that. That's one rule. A second rule or law is the law of words. Life and death is in the power of my tongue. So in other words, when I speak to the employees, when I speak to the clients, I need to speak words of life. That's a rule in my business. Another rule is the rule or the law of seed time and harvest. Whatever I sow in life, that I will reap. I can't sow lemon seeds and expect apple trees to come up. Somehow in life we do that, right? We sow apple, and then the lemon comes up and we're like, God, what's happening here? This is not right. And then God says, but you sowed apple seed. Expect the apple tree, not a lemon tree. Right. Then, the second part of your business culture is principles. Business principles. Quick story on that. So I was sitting in 2019, cash flow was really tight. When I mean really tight, I mean it's very close to zero. And I was busy with my CETA accreditation, and I got some people to do the service for me. It was quite expensive. And they broke the service down in a couple of payments. And I already paid the first invoice, then the second invoice comes unexpectedly the one day while I was just minding my own business. Boom, here comes the invoice. Quite a lot of money. It's almost everything I have left. And my first thought is, how long can I just put this on ice before I pay? I wonder. My second thought was, I was sitting at my laptop. As my laptop was here, the wall was here, and I had my business culture there. And one of the principles is honor your creditors. Something that I committed to. Nobody else. Nobody else forced me to commit to that. I committed to that. Now I see honor your creditors. So my second thought is honor your creditors. So the first one is how long can I expand this? The second one is honor your creditors. I'm like, that's rough. But I'm submitted to this. This is what I decided on. If I don't carry out this instruction now, very small, minute test of my word against myself. If I can't carry it out successfully, I can throw the culture away. Because then the whole law is nullified for my business. Does it make sense? So I logged into my bank account and I made the full payment. Out of principle that I was actually honoring my culture, which was bigger than me. All right, cool. So a couple of ideas on principles is honor your creditors, sell a fair product at a fair price. Again, leadership. You really want leadership reflection as a principle. Now, just a quick thought on how to get employees to become leaders. You give them responsibility. You tell them, this is your department. I want results. You give them the tools to get results. You train them on the department. Now you say, I want results. Thank you very much. The first day they come into your office and they say, this happened. What do? I look at you. I say, well, it's your department. What's your decision? They first of all almost get the shock of their life because they never took it seriously. Now I'm looking at them with a straight face and I'm saying, what's your decision? It's your department. And then they like, I don't know. I say, well, go think. Then come back with an answer. Because if I give you a department, if I want to make you a leader, and I give you a department, are you going to become a leader if you constantly come to me and ask me stupid questions and I give you the answers? Never. Never. You need to take responsibility for your department. Bring me feedback. Now I know I can trust you with a little bit of responsibility. You are a leader, I can give you more because you actually use your brain. Okay, that's just a side note. Okay, and then The last part is your etiquette. This is a really important one. How do you expect your employees to conduct themselves in the business? Really important. Okay, in other words, how do you resolve conflict? Because it's a business, there's going to be conflict. People's opinions is going to change. So I have an agreement with my employees where I say, if you have conflict with another person, you take him outside and then you resolve it peacefully. And it's as simple as, what's the issue? Cool, speak to me. I listen to you. I understand where you're coming from. I'm explaining to you where I'm coming from. Now there's clear communication. And now we just find a middle way for both of us. Now it doesn't affect the atmosphere of your business. There's nothing worse than sitting in your business and there's this atmosphere of cliquey, gossiping, angry vibes hanging in the air because people can't deal with their issues. So I gave my employees the instruction, if there's conflict, this is what you do. Okay, so that's one. How do you resolve conflict? How do you communicate? Open, clear communication. Then another one is, how do you treat guests? How do you want the employees to treat the guests coming to your business or your organization? You got to write these things down. Once you wrote them down, you sign the ethical declaration, which means you take it seriously. The next step is now to go train your employees on the culture. Because now you think they're just going to know what to do. They're not just going to know. And then the business owner gets upset because the employee is not thinking, but you never trained the employee to think. So then you train them. This is what you do. So I trained my employees so well on the culture. The moment came when the one person really made a real mess of something, and I went to him and I said, listen, unacceptable. If it happens again, I give you a warning. Very simple instruction. I'm going to give you a warning if it happens again. I walk out. The whole office is up in arms because I didn't follow the culture, which is taking the person out and having a conversation with them. So it was a bittersweet moment. It was bitterly irritating when the manager came to me and said they have a problem with how I addressed the other guy. So I'm like, I'm listening. I'm irritated, but I'm listening. And the sweet moment was they actually got it. And they actually do it. And the teamwork is incredible. Because I've drilled it into their minds that there will be teamwork. You will help each other. All right. Another good one is gossips, cliques, stuff like that. And I'll make it very clear that there's no cliques or gossip or any office politics in the business. That's a big problem because that divides. The moment you get a clique or people gossiping or people like just keep it here. We and you just you. And the moment you do that, you're dividing the business. And Jesus said in the Bible, a house divided cannot stand. Or is it Solomon in Proverbs? Said, a house divided cannot stand. By the way, there's a really incredible thing in Proverbs where Solomon says, 6 things that God hates and the 7th is an abomination. That 7th one is a brother or sister that sows discord, breaks the unity. It's huge. And that comes through cliques and gossips. But you need to tell your employees, I will not have that in my business. And then when you tell them, you train them on it. And when something arises, you exercise your vision, your culture, no compromise. Because if you compromise the first time, they're not going to take you seriously on that. Right, so that's the purpose area of your business. Then, if we go to page number... I'm a bit lost now, just give me a moment. Okay, so that was the business purpose. If we go to page number 10. Oh, I see. That's correct. So remember, we already dealt with the strategy. Now we've dealt with the purpose of the vision. Now we're looking into the tactical approach of the vision. Are you guys with me? Okay. So remember, we're starting at the top. We've got the purpose. Then under the purpose, we have the strategy. Then under the strategy, we want to build the foundation. And now we're getting into planning the foundation, testing the foundation, and fully launching the foundation. All right, very, very important. And under planning, you've got 6 or 7 steps that you need to execute. All right, so I'm going to run through this. Step number 1, you need a sales strategy. This is something that I'm definitely going to touch on tomorrow. Very important, but just quickly, you need a sales strategy. That sales strategy is going to determine how you're going to set up your branding, which is under, I just want to check, are you guys following the way that I structured this template? So you get phase 1, and under phase 1 you get the steps. Next to it you get phase 2, under the phase 2 you get the steps. Then you move to phase 3, you get the steps. Okay, so I'm going down now. So we've got phase 1 planning. Step 1 is the sales. Then step number 2 is going to be the branding. So if you understand how you're going to make your sales, you will set up the right brand. If you set up the right brand, you go to step 3, you can have the right marketing. If you have the right marketing, you can go to number 4, step number 4, which is a finalized sales system. Very important. Then step number 5 is your product service delivery process. Step number 6 is your systemized management. And then step number 7 is going to be your compliance and your registration. If you follow those 7 steps to a T, you're going to have, you would have done everything needed to plan your business properly, or the restructuring of the business properly. All right. Then after you've done that planning, and that planning is really intense. That's why I've got a 12-week program where we do 1 step literally per week. And then I give homework on that step. It's really intense. All right. And then number 2 is testing. So I'm going to give you a quick example of how do I test. So you got to, first of all, test. You got to test the 4 questions. Can you remember the 4 questions? Lead generation, lead conversion, lead satisfaction, lead retention. Now you've got to test those 4 questions. In other words, test number 1. Can I generate a lead, yes or no? Advertising, marketing. Test number 2. When I get a lead, somebody fill in an application form, or they're in my shop, they come with their feet, they're in the shop. The second test is, can I generate or can I convert the lead into a sale? Can I do that? Yes or no? Test number 3. When I convert him and he pays me money, can I deliver my service? Yes or no? Test number 4 is your retention. In other words, can I get the person to leave me a review afterwards, send me a referral, or come back for more services and products? Those are the 4 key questions you need to test. If one of them doesn't work, now you have to look at the data in your test phase. So the test phase is all about capturing data. It's not about making a profit. You're not going to make a profit while you're testing something. You got to get the data and you got to read what the data is telling you. 10 people signed up, 1 person made a payment. Okay, what's the data telling us? I've got a strike rate potential of 10%. 9 people weren't interested. Why not? Let me give them a call and ask them, why did you not pay? Now they tell you. Now you're like, oh, it's such an easy solution. I'm going to bring that in. Now you change the model up. You run it again. Suddenly you get 3 out of 10 payments. It made a difference. The stats are telling you that you now have a 30% strike rate. And so on and so forth. Until you get the right balance for the model. Then you know, I've got this. With full confidence now, stats, data backing up your decisions, you go and you say, cool, I'm going to launch. I'm going to go full in. And by the way, I'm not sure if I'm going to make some people upset now, but I'm going to say it anyways. When you build a business, you never build the business with the intention to go and get funding. You build a business with the intention of taking responsibility, building and growing it organically, and if funding should come along, it's a bonus. But the moment you place your hope on funding, and the funding institution says no, that was your hope, that's the end of your entrepreneurship. The worst place I found myself in 2018 was where I was sitting busy with this program, understanding the value of it, but constantly hoping somebody would see me. Can somebody please see me? Can somebody please see me? Oh, I hope somebody sees me. I hope nobody saw me, and I nearly went bankrupt. And then I saw myself, and it wasn't pretty. And then I got it. If I build a business where I deal with the consumer, aka the people around me, not companies, not contracts, not tenders. If I deal with people, if I give somebody a product or a service of value that they need, I'm building, I've got my future in my own hands. That's the difference. That's true dominion according to Genesis 1:26-28. I'm building something where I do business with you that need my service, which is the most valuable, measuring stick of your business is, will somebody pay his personal money to you for a service, yes or no? That's, if you can get that, you've got value, I promise you. You've got your future in your own hands. If you don't want to depend on the government, but we've got people in South Africa, we're all trying to depend on the government for everything, and you're not building your own future. So rather focus on building something that's sustainable, doing business with somebody else that's valuable, then I've got my future in my own hands. Now I call the shots. If somebody now sees what I'm doing, let's say DTI contacts me and says they see I've got a great course and they want to roll it out to people in South Africa. I say, great, I'll do it for you. But I'm not worried if the deal does not go through. Because back at the ranch, my business is working. We're writing business plans, we're doing business coaching, money's coming in, I'm paying salaries. If the deal comes through, massive bonus. If not, life goes on. The problem is when we put our hope into big deals and those deals does not come through, then we lose hope because now all hope is lost because you don't have a vision past the tender or whatever. Are you guys with me? Do you hear what I'm saying? It's really important stuff. All right, cool. So then we get to the full launch phase. You've got your tried and tested advertising channels. You've got your tried and tested sales methods. You've got your tried and tested products, systems, service delivery. Now you build on that, and that is the space where your foundation is now right. Now it's about growing the foundation. AKA, don't bring 50 other services on board because you strike luck with one. Not luck, you worked hard for the one. Focus on the one and make it the best one in South Africa. When it's the best and you get to that point where you've got a successful business end result, which was system dependent, not people dependent, operational without the manager operating it 24/7, going away for 3 months without getting a phone call, that one, and the cash flow. Then you say, right, I'm ready for my next idea. And that could take 5, 6, 7, 8 years. It really takes a long time. And that is the end of today's session. Tomorrow we will literally jump in and look at branding, marketing, sales, operations, service delivery, systemized management. And if you have time today, go do your homework for the rest of the day. There's enough hours left. There's 4 hours left of the working day. You can quickly go do it. Right.
Thank you so much, Brent.